never fade, and our legs will not grow weary. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. The battle is won. The battle is won. The battle is won before we wake up from our sleep. The battle is won. Yeah, the battle is won. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. Victory is Yahuah's. Victory is Yahuah's. Victory is Yahuah's. Victory is Yahuah's. The battle is won. The battle is won. The battle is won before we wake up from our sleep. The battle is won. Yeah, the battle is won. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. The battle is won. The battle is won. The battle is won before we wake up from our sleep. The battle is won. Yeah, the battle is won. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. Victory is Yahuah's. Victory is Yahuah's. Victory is Yahuah's. Victory is Yahuah's. The battle is won. The battle is won. The battle is won before we wake up from our sleep. The battle is won. Yeah, the battle is won. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. Yahusha is the rock of our salvation. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. And our strength will never fade, and our legs will not grow weary. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march. Yahuah, the battle is won before we march.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. I pray everybody is having an amazing Shabbat today. And we are getting into our second Torah portion here, which is Noach. And it's going to be, let's see, let me scroll up. I got the verses here. So Genesis 6:8 to 11:32. And we're going to also be reading Jubilees, chapters 6 through 11. And there's a whole lot to get into with these readings, especially about Noah's flood and the importance of the 4 Noah days that are just like the weekly Shabbat. And we're going to dig into that a little bit deeper here as we read on. So let me go ahead and say a prayer, and we'll get right into it. Father Abba Yahuah, we come to you in prayer to ask for your guidance and your blessings as we read and study through your word. Help us to have a renewed heart and a renewed mind to better follow you and your ways, and help us to better learn and discern what is your truth and what is not. And we thank you for this fellowship, this amazing mishpacha we gather with every Shabbat. And it's such a blessing, truly, Father. Thank you for all of this, for allowing us to come together, be able to work together, to seek and to find your truths. And I wanted to say a prayer for those who are suffering through trials, tribulations, and sicknesses. And I know a lot of sickness is going around affecting us. And I'm just praying for healing and a hedge of protection around all those who are struggling, and give us all the strength we need to endure to the end, Father. And I pray to you in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, and let it be so. All right. Let me go ahead and share the screen here. And yeah, those who would like to, volunteer to read as well, give like a thumbs up there in chat if you would like to read. I know Sumi and Brandon said they were going to read. So all right. So we got Genesis. This is chapter 6 and starting in verse 8 here. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahuah. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with Elohim. And Noah brought forth 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had been corrupted in their way on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And see, I am going to destroy them from the earth. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with tar. And this is how you are to make it. The length of the ark is 300 amah, its width 50 amah, and its height 30 amah. Make a window for the ark, and complete it to an amah from above, and put the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. And see, I myself am bringing the floodwaters on the earth, to destroy all the flesh, in which the breath of life from under the Shamayim, and all that is on the earth is to die. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of all the living creatures, of all the flesh, 2 of each, you are to bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you, a male and a female. Of the birds after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, and of all the creeping creatures of the earth after their kind. 2 of each are to come to you, to keep them alive. And as for you, take of all the food that is eaten, and gather it into yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. And Noah did according to all that Elohim commanded, and so he did. So we see here, this is where Yahuah was telling Noah to gather all these things into the ark, to build the ark itself. And perhaps it seems the ark could be round like the tabernacle. Because something round like that would be able to withstand, heavy waves and storms and things like that. So, I don't know, rather interesting. So, Sumi or Brandon, do you want to read next here? Or anybody else?
Okay, I'll go. Chapter 7.
Awesome.
And Yahuah said to Noah, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Of all the clean beasts, take with you 7 pairs, a male and his female, and of the beasts that are unclean 2, a male and his female, and of birds of the Shamayim 7 pairs, male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I am sending rain on the earth, 40 days and 40 nights, and I shall wipe from the face of the earth all that stand that I created. And Noah did according to all that Yahuah commanded him. Now Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of the clean beast and of the beasts that are unclean, and of birds and of all that creep on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark of Noah, male and female, as Elohim had commanded Noah. And it came to be after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 7th day of the month. On that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the Shamayim were open. And the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the son of Noah, and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons with them, went into the ark. They and every living creature after its kind, and every beast after its kind, and every creeping creature that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2, of all flesh in which is the breath of life. And those going in, male and female, of all flesh, went in as Elohim had commanded him, and Yahuah shut him in. And the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. And the waters were mighty, and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters were exceedingly mighty on the earth, and all the high mountains under all the Shamayim were covered. The waters became mighty, 15 amma upward, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts and every creeping creature that creeps on the earth, and all mankind, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he wiped off all that stand, which were on the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature and bird of the Shamayim, and they were wiped off from the earth. And only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. And the waters were mighty on the earth, 150 days. Let me keep going. Chapter 8. And Elohim remembered Noah.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, if you would like to keep going, absolutely. I just wanted to mention real quick, we did a study on the Noah's Ark and the flood and how it lines up with the Zadok calendar. And it was quite a while ago. But maybe we should dive into it again sometime soon. But it's really interesting in how it lines up with the true calendar as well. But yeah, go ahead.
All right. And Yahuah said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Of all the clean beasts, take with you 7 pairs, a male and his female, and of the beasts that are unclean."
I thought we were on chapter 8. Yeah, we're on chapter 8.
You didn't change it then. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait, hold
Yeah, I'm reading. Yeah, we're reading over. We don't go back again. All right. This is, and Elohim remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of the Shamayim were stopped, and the rain from the Shamayim was withheld. And the waters receded steadily from the earth, and at the end of the 150 days, the waters diminished. And in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased steadily until the 10th month. And the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. And it came to be, at the end of the 40 days, that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent out a raven, which kept going out and turning back until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for its feet, and returned into the ark to him. For the waters were on the face of all the earth. So he put on his hand and took it and pulled it into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. And the dove came to him in the evening, and see, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in its mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. And he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return to him again. And it came to be in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and saw the surface of the ground was dry. In the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. And Elohim spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living creature of all flesh that is with you, of birds, of cattle, and of all creeping creatures that creep on the earth. And let them teem on the earth, and bear and increase on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping creature, every bird, whatever creeps on the earth according to their kinds, went out of the ark. And Noah built an altar to Yahuah, and took of every clean beast and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahuah smelled a soothing fragrance, and Yahuah said to his heart, Never again shall I curse the ground because of man, although the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth, and never again smite all life, as I have done. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease.
Love it.
Can you keep on reading? Or?
Yeah, go ahead. Unless
All right.
somebody else wants to read, but it doesn't seem like anybody else wants to right now. So no, go ahead, brother.
All right. Okay. This is in the fear of you and the dread of you is on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the Shamayim, on all that creeps on the ground, and on all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they have been given. Every moving creature that lives is food for you. I have given you all as the green plants, but you do not eat flesh with its life, its blood, but only your blood for your lives I require. From the hand of every beast I require it, and from the hand of man, from the hand of every man's brother I require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood is shed. For in the image of Elohim has he made man. As for you, bear fruit and increase, bring forth teemingly in the earth and increase in it. And Elohim spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, with every living creature that is with you, of the birds of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, every beast of the earth. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and never again is all flesh cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again is there a flood to destroy the earth. And Elohim said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for all generations to come. I shall put my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And it shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I shall remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and never again let the waters become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I shall see it, to remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. And the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and all the earth was overspread from them. And Noah, a man of the soil, began and planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine, and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. But their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. And Noah woke from his wine, and he knew what his younger son had done to him. And he said, Cursed is Canaan. Let him become a servant of servants to his brothers. And he said, Baruch be Yahuah, the Elohim of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. Let Elohim enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
Boom. And so really quick, I wanted to go over So, uncovering his father's nakedness. And sometimes there's a lot of questions around this where, scriptures explains itself. And when we read in Leviticus, it speaks about what is uncovering nakedness. And that goes for, being with your father's wife or your sister, your brother, like so forth. That is uncovering their nakedness. So we see what happened here was, he did something with his father's wife. This is why Canaan became cursed. And I believe that curse is what triggered that, Nephilim DNA to then go to be passed down through the generations. It's the generational curse is what it is. Yeah, uncovering their crime, their shame. Exactly. And so just a little interesting point there. And this is why Canaan became cursed. This is why they had all the ites there in the Exodus. Those are all from Canaan, Canaanites. And that's why they are all, giants. And then chapter 10 here is rather interesting. I'll actually go ahead and read this one. And yeah, if anybody has anything they'd like to add, feel free. All right, so Genesis chapter 10. And this is the genealogy of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the sons were born unto them after the flood. The sons of Japheth are Gomer, Magog, Madai, and Yawan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. And look at this, the sons of Gomer, who is from Japheth. We have Ashkenaz. This is where the Ashkenazi come from. And they claim to be descendants of Shem. That's what quote-unquote anti-Shemititism is. Got to be careful on how I word that anyway for YouTube. But we see they're not from Shem at all. They're from Japheth. And this is exactly where they come from. Really revealing information right there. But let me continue. So there's Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. Sorry, I probably butchered that one. And the sons of Yawan, Elisha, Arishish, Kittim, and Dodanim. Some of these are tongue twisters. From these, the coastland peoples of the nations were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language, according to their clans, into their nations. And the sons of Ham are Cush, Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush are Seba, Hawilah, Sabata, Rama, Sabteka. And the sons of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush brought forth Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one on the earth. Oops. Sorry. My mouse kind of glitches out sometimes. So he became a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahuah. And therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahuah. And the beginning of his reign was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the lands of Shinar. From that land he went to Ashur, and built Nineveh, and Rehoboth, and Kelah. And Rezin, between Nineveh and Kelah, the great city. And Mitzrayim brought forth Ludim, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naptuhim. Yeah, those sound pretty Egyptian to me, honestly. and Pathrusim, Cashuhim, from who came the Pelishites and the Caphtorim. And Canaan brought forth Zidion, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Arwadite, and the Semorite, and the Hamnathite. And afterward the clans of the Canaanites were spread abroad. So we see all the ites here that I just mentioned before. And the border of the Canaanites was from Zidion, as you go towards Gerar, as far as Azah, as you go towards Sodom and Amorah, and Admah, and Sedboim, as far as Lashah. These were the sons of Ham, according to their clans, and according to their languages, in their lands, in their nations. And also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder, brought forth. And the sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, Arpachshad, and Lud, and Aram. And the sons of Aram, Uts, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. And Arpachshad brought forth Shelah, and Shelah brought forth Eber. And to Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother name was Yoktan. And Yoktan brought forth Almadad, and Shelef, and this is a big one. Man, I can't even say that. Hatzaramereth, and Yerah, and Hadaram, and Uziel, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimiel, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Hawilah, and Yobab. All these were the sons of Yoktan. And their dwelling place was from Mesha as you go towards Sephar, on a mountain of the east. And these were the sons of Shem, according to their clans, according to their languages, in their lands, according to their nations. And these were the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, in their nations. And from these the nations were divided on the earth after the flood. So we see all the lineage in there of all 3 of the sons. And we see exactly where the lineage of Ashkenaz comes from. And those are those very ones that, they claim to be Yahudim, but they are not Yahudim. And so we're going to read Bereshith, or Genesis 11 to verse 32 here. Let's see. I just want to kind of mark it. Oh, it's literally the whole chapter. Okay. So yeah, if anybody would like to read next, or if Brandon or Sumi would like to continue. And Shabbat Shalom and welcome, by the way. Everybody just joining in recently.
Okay, chapter 11. And Shabbat Shalom. And after he brought forth Peleg, Eber lived 430 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and brought forth Reu. And after he brought forth Reu, Peleg lived...
Here in Genesis 11?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, where is that?
Did you start from the beginning, baby?
Oh, maybe I didn't start from the beginning. Oh.
Yeah, she didn't start from the beginning.
My bad.
Okay, I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
I'm so sorry. And it came to be, all the earth had one language and one speech. And it came to be, as they departed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, Come, let us make bricks, and bake them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the Shamayim, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over all the face of the earth. Then Yahuah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahuah said, Look, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is what they began to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language, so that they do not understand one another's speech. And Yahuah scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. That is why its name was called Babel, because there Yahuah confused the language of all the earth, and from there Yahuah scattered them over the face of all the earth. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and brought forth Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. And after he brought forth Arpachshad, Shem lived 500 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Arpachshad lived 35 years, and brought forth Shelah. And after he brought forth Shelah, Arpachshad lived 403 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Shelah lived 30 years, and brought forth Eber. And after he brought forth Eber, Shelah lived 403 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Eber lived 34 years, and brought forth Peleg. And after he brought forth Peleg, Eber lived 430 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and brought forth Reu. And after he brought forth Reu, Peleg lived 209 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years, and brought forth Serug. And after he brought forth Serug, Reu lived 207 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years, and brought forth Nahor. And after he brought forth Nahor, Serug lived 200 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years, and brought forth Terah. And after he brought forth Terah, Nahor lived 119 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and brought forth Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And this is the genealogy of Terah. Terah brought forth Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran brought forth Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his birth, in Ur-Kasdim. And Abram Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yitzchak. And Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terah took his son Abram, and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out with them from Ur-Kasdim to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah came to be 205 years, and Terah died in Haran.
The people are sarcastic.
So, yeah, interesting stuff. We see how Abraham came around. And we're going to be getting into Jubilees next here. So, chapter 5, actually. And this is where we get into the meat of what we just read in Jubilees as well. Or, sorry, in Genesis. So this goes a lot into the flood, and it's going to explain, the importance of the 4 Noah days that are just like, the Shabbat days. And so it's going to say new moon a lot here, and the word really is ha-hodesh, so it's actually a head of the month. And actually, while I'm here, let me go ahead and show you. So these are just going to be the verses in Ezekiel and Amos that back up, on these ha-hodeshes, the heads of these 4 seasonal months. They're going to be just like the Shabbat day. And so the first one is Ezekiel 46:1. And thus said the Adon Yahuah, the gate of the inner courtyard facing east is shut the 6 days of work, but on the Shabbat it is opened, and on the head of the months, which is HaChodesh, it is opened. And then Amos 8:5-6, saying, when does the head of the months, which is HaChodesh, pass so that we sell grain, and the Sabbath so that we trade our wheat, to make the ephah small and the shekel large, and to falsify the scales by deceit, to buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of the wheat. So what we see here is these HaChodeshes, these heads of the months, they're going to be just like the Shabbat day, where there's no buying or selling. Even the gate to the courtyard it's shut on these 6 days of work, except for the heads of the months and the Shabbat day. And did you want to continue reading, Sumi or Brandon or anybody else? Yeah, if you would like to. Oh, go ahead.
I can read, brother, if you want me to. It's fine.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Let me know when to pause or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
What, man? It says, on the new moon of the new month of the third month, he went out from the ark and built an altar on the mountain. And he made atonement for the earth and took a young goat and made atonement with it.
Hold on. Jubilees chapter 5, right?
Oh, no, that was 6. My bad.
We're on the wrong one. All right.
Yeah. No worries.
I was on 6, yeah. And then it came to be when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the messengers of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Yobel, the Jubilee, that they were lovely to look upon, and they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all the flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle, and beasts and birds of all that walked on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other, and lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was only evil continually. And Elohim looked upon the earth and see, it was... What?
Oh, real quick, sorry.
You good,
so right here we see, all these lawlessness and abominations with not only men, but cattle and beasts and birds and all these things. That's where, these chimeras and, these blendings of species and things like that. That's where that happened. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Good. All right. Where are we at again? It's in verse 3. And as an Elohim looked upon the earth and see it was corrupt, and all the flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all kinds of evil before his eyes. And he said, I shall destroy man of all flesh upon the face of the earth, which I have created. But Noah found favor before the eyes of Yahuah. And against the messengers whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth. And he gave command to root them out of all their reign. And he commanded us to bind them in the depths of the earth, and see, they are bound in the midst of it, and are kept separate. And against his sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with a sword, and be removed from under the Shamayim. And he said, your spirit shall not always abide on man, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor, and they began to slay each other, till they all fell by the sword, and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction. And after this, they were bound in the depths of the earth forever until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yahuah. And he destroyed all from their places, and not one remained of them whom he did not judge according to all their wickedness. And he appointed for all his work a new righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous each in his kind always. And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the tablets of the Shamayim in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which ordained for them to walk in. And if they do not walk therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there is none in the Shamayim on earth, or in light, or in darkness, or in the grave, or in the depth, or in the place of darkness which is not judged. And all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. In regard to all he shall rightly rule, the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. And he is not one who shall regard the face of any, nor is he one who shall receive bribes. If he says that he shall execute judgment on each, if one gave all that is on the earth, he shall not regard the bribes of the face of any, nor accept any matter at his hands, for he is a righteous judge. And of the children of Israel, it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in righteousness, he shall forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. It is written and ordained that he shall show kindness to all who turn from all their guilt once each year, which is the Day of Atonement. And as for all those who have corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's face was accepted except that of Noah alone, for his face was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom Elohim saved from the waters of the flood in his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according to as it was commanded regarding him, and he had not departed from any matter that was ordained for him.
I feel like that is a promise for our children.
Amen, baby. And it says, and Yahuah said that he would destroy all which was upon the earth, both men and cattle, and beasts and birds of the air, and that which moves on the earth. And he commanded Noah to make himself an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him, in the 27th Yobel of years, in the 5th week, in the 5th year, on the new month of the 1st month. And he entered in the 6th year, in the 2nd month, on the new month of the 2nd month, to the 16th. And he entered in all that we brought to him into the ark, and Yahuah closed it from without on the 17th evening. And Yahuah opened 7 windows of the Shamayim and the mouth of the fountains of the great deep, 7 months in number, or miles in number. Well,
I think that's
7 miles of rain, yeah. The rain's poured out. That's crazy. As then the windows began to pour down water from the Shamayim 40 days and 40 nights, and the fountains of the deep also sent up waters until the whole earth was filled with water. 40 days and 40 nights. And the waters increased upon the earth 15 amah. The waters rose above all the high mountains, and the ark was lifted up above the earth, and it moved upon the face of the waters. And the waters were mighty on the face of the earth 5 months and 150 days. And the ark went and rested on the top of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat. And on the new month, in the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the windows of the Shamayim were restrained. And on the new month of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend into the deep below. And on the new month of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were visible. And on the new month of the 1st month, the earth became visible. And the waters disappeared from above the earth in the 5th week, in the 7th year, and on the 17th day, in the 2nd month, the earth was dry. And on the 27th, he opened the ark, and he sent out from it beasts and cattle and birds and every moving creature.
Awesome. So there is quite a lot to unpack in here. So we see at the head of these specific months, the 4 different seasonal months throughout the year, this is where these specific events happened in the flood. And chapter 6 goes a bit more into detail on that as well. And there's something I wanted to point out. It was back here. I think it was verse 7. No. Oh, right here is verse 6. So all the watchers, those fallen angels, they were bound in the midst of the earth, which is very interesting because there's that chasm that we read about in the book of Enoch that's under Mount Zion. And what better place to keep these guys than right under the feet, That just kind of stuck out to me a lot. And then, of course, we see all these important events that happened during the flood on these specific days, the Ha-Hodesh, the heads of these months, the 4 seasonal ones. And actually, Jubilees 6 here goes into a lot of detail about it. And I'll do the reading for this one so I can explain as we go on. And there you go. Thank you, Natalie. You got it right there. You're on top of it. That's exactly it. It's not new moon at all. It's that Ha Chodesh, or the Rosh Chodesh, that head of these months. So, all right. So Jubilees chapter 6. And on the head of the month, on the third month, he went out from the ark and built an altar on the mountain. And he made, and he made atonement for the earth, and took a young goat and made atonement with its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for all that had been on it. It had been destroyed, and except those that were in the ark with Noah. So here we see Noah making an atonement offering. Well, how can that be if the laws only came about, at Mount Sinai? No, they've been around since, Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve. And he placed the fat of it on the altar, and he took a bull and a goat, and a male goat, and salt, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon, and placed a burnt offering on the altar, and poured out an offering on it mixed with oil, and sprinkled wine, and spread frankincense all over, and caused a sweet fragrance to arise, acceptable before Yahuah. So now it goes into more detail on what these burnt offerings are and exactly the ingredients that go into it. The same things we read in Leviticus. And Yahuah smelled the sweet fragrance, and he made a covenant with him that there should no longer be a flood to destroy the earth. Yeah, proof the Father loves to grill out. Yeah, exactly. And Yahuah smelled the sweet fragrance, and he made a covenant with him that there should no longer be a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, the seed time and the harvest, should never cease. The cold and the heat, and the summer and the winter, and day and night, should not change their order or cease forever. And there it goes, speaking about these seasons never ceasing forever. The hamburger emoji. And you increase and multiply on the earth, and become numerous upon it, and be a barakoth upon it. And the fear of you and the dread of you I shall inspire in all that is on the earth and in the sea. So again, we're just seeing how it parallels exactly with what Genesis reads. And see, I have given to you all the beasts, and all the flying creatures, and all that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all the matters for food, as the green plants. I have given you all matters to eat. So this is not speaking about the unclean animals here. It's only about the clean ones. But the flesh, with its life, with the blood, you shall not eat. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, and lest your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast, I shall require the blood of man. That's almost verbatim what we read in Genesis as well. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim he made man. And you increase and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahuah Elohim forever, throughout all the generations of the earth, in this month. So then we see this covenant being made throughout all the generations forever. Not a temporary amount of time, not until his son comes back, forever. And on this account, he spoke to you that you should make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that you should sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant which Yahuah made with them forever. And that's the sprinkling of the blood because it's a blood covenant. And this witness is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beasts or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of a beast or cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. And we see that's exactly what happened with the Canaanites, all the ites. They started eating, drinking the blood, all these things, consuming each other even. And you shall command that the children of Israel are to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahuah our Elohim continually. And for this law there is no limit of days, for it is forever, that they shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue atonement on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day, and at the time of morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf continually before Yahuah, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. So that's how important this is, do not eat or drink any kind of blood. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not be a flood on the earth again. And he placed his rainbow in a cloud for a sign of the everlasting covenant, that there should not be a flood again on the earth, to destroy all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on the tablets of the Shamayim, that they should celebrate the festival of Shavuot in this month, once a year, to renew the covenant every year. Very important. That's why a lot of these festivals are foundational, because they have such importance. And as we read here, Shavuot, it's to renew the covenant each and every year. And this whole festival was celebrated in the Shamayim from the day of creation until the days of Noah. 26 Jubilees, and 5 weeks of years. So 26 Jubilees and 5 years. 5 weeks of years, so it's 7 years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 Jubilees, Yobelim, and 1 week of years, until the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons forsook it until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood. So we also see and have read, these festivals have been celebrated in the Shamayim from the day of creation. So they weren't just a new thing there at Mount Sinai. Passover as well, that's included. It wasn't a new thing that happened then. It was something that has been going on. So verse 19, but Abraham observed it, and Yitzhak and Jacob and his children observed it up to your days. And in your days the children of Israel forgot it, until you celebrated it anew on this mountain. And so he's speaking to Moshe here, speaking about Mount Sinai, because they'd forgot it being in Egypt for so very long. And it was forgotten until Yahuah renewed it there on the mountain, on Mount Sinai. And you shall command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations, for a command upon them. 1 day in the year, in this month, they shall celebrate the festival. For it is the festival of Shavuot, and the feast of first fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature. According to what is written and engraved concerning it, celebrate it. And again, we see the importance of first fruits as well. For I have written in the book of the first Torah, in that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its season, one day in the year. And I explained to you its slaughterings, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, one day in every year. And on the head of the first month, and on the head of the fourth month, and the head of the seventh month, and the head of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in which the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a witness forever. So we're going to see right here the importance of these HaHodeshes, these heads of the 4 seasonal months. And as we read in Jubilees and read in Genesis and here in Jubilees, these specific events happened on these days of the month during the flood. And Noah ordained them for himself as festivals for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial to him. So we see these 4 Noah days, they have become a festival for what? The generations forever. Isn't it interesting that, most don't even mention these specific days here? Most probably don't even realize the importance of these days. And on the head of the first month, he was told to make an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the head of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abysses beneath were closed. And on the head of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the head of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And we see all this as we read in Genesis as well. And on account of this, he ordained them for himself as festivals for a memorial forever, and thus they are ordained. So we see, and thus they are ordained. This is the messenger of the presence speaking this to Moshe. And he's saying, they are ordained in the heavens. And they placed them on the tablets of the Shamayim. Each had 13 weeks, and their memorial passed from one to another, from the first to the second, from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth. And so we see the 13 weeks in each season. And that's exactly what we have. And it's not 13 months, no. The 13 is the 13 weeks between each season, 3 months. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days, and these shall make the entire year complete. And so again, we see the 52 weeks of days. We don't see a 53rd week added anywhere in there. And thus it is engraved and ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim. And there's no neglecting this command for a single year or from year to year. So which command are we not neglecting? The 52 weeks of days. And you shall command the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these shall constitute a complete year. And they shall not disturb its time from its days, and from its festivals, and for all shall fall out in them, according to their witness. And they shall not leave out any day, or disturb any festivals. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, then they shall disturb all their seasons, and the years shall be dislodged from this order, and they shall neglect their laws. What laws are they neglecting? The laws of the luminaries. That's what's going to determine all these things. And we see it's 52 weeks each year. And it's specifically mentioned, 364 days that we should keep. Why? Because we physically experience 365. Exactly. 13 weeks between each seasonal head. Exactly. And all the children of Israel shall forget, and shall not find the path of the years, and shall forget the heads of the months, and the seasons, and the Sabbatoth, the Shabbats. And they shall go astray as to all the order of the years. And this is exactly what we see nowadays, truly. And, I was just mentioning that they forgot about, it's not new moon, they forgot about these HaChodeshes, these 4 seasonal heads of months that are ordained nowadays, festivals. The very ones that we read about here in Ezekiel 46:1 and Amos 8:5-6. It's proof that these days are very special, they are set apart. And no wonder the synagogue of Hasatan doesn't want to mention them, because it will prove their calendar incorrect. And, we've definitely seen them going astray with the order of the years. Adding a 13th month or, going according to any kind of really moon, whether it's a sliver, a full moon, or any of that. The moon is not what leads. Yeah, exactly, Brandon. Certain angels are picked over every 3 months. Yeah, those 4 star leaders we read about in Enoch. But yeah, very, very important stuff. And, most people do not even recognize how important these 4 Noah days are and how they're exactly like a weekly Shabbat day. And that is how we don't have more than 7 days in between Shabbats from one year to the next. Because, that's people's biggest thing is, oh, you guys got an 8-day week in there. Well, no. And we also read, they would neglect their laws, the laws of the luminaries. That's what Yahuah put up there for us to follow. That's going to determine all of these things. It's not a Gregorian week. It's not a, Babylonian week. None of that. Yeah, exactly. 3 30-day months. And then the intercalary days in between. All right, so verse 35. For I know, and from this time on I shall declare it to you, and it is not of my own devising, for the book is written before me, and on the tablets of the Shamayim the division of days is ordained. It's those heavenly tablets and these markers in the heavens, the luminaries that he assigned. Yeah, seasonal angels. Yeah, no, they really are. But we see it's these tablets of the Shamayim where the division of days is ordained. Not anything here on the earth. So unless they forget the festivals of the covenant and walk according to the festivals of the Gentiles, the nations, after their straying and after their ignorance. For there shall be those who shall assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the season, and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. So lining up right with Enoch there as well, how the moon falls 10 days short each year. And then we see there people making observations of the moon, things like that. The ones who are blowing shofars at the sliver moons and everything's all about the moon. They're unknowingly worshiping the moon by doing these things. For these reasons, the years shall come upon them when they shall disturb the order, and make an abominable day the day of witness, and an unclean day a feast day, And they shall confuse all the days, the Kodesh with the unclean, and the unclean day with the Kodesh. For they shall go astray as to the months, and Shabbats, and festivals, and Jubilees. So again, we see here, what is an abominable day? Well, we just read here, it was that 17th day of the second month. And that's the same day that Hasatan deceived Eve into eating the fruit. So that specific day is an abominable day. There's certain abominable days that, if we don't have the proper calendar, we're going to be putting a set apart day on top of these abominable days. And it's not good. And it also speaks of, the unclean days. Well, it's just these regular days that we experience because they are not holy. They're not set apart days. So if we're putting a festival on just an unclean day, that's not cool either. It's that mixing. Yeah, the Golden Calf Day is a day of abomination as well. Yeah. And the head of days, Yahusha, that separates the years. Yeah, precisely. And for this reason I command and witness to you, that you may witness to them. For after your death, your children shall confuse them, so that they shall not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they shall go astray as to the heads of the months, and the seasons, the Shabbatot, and the festivals. And they shall eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. Look at that. 5 years into this walk, I've never observed the feast correctly. Abominable days. Yeah, I agree. Yahuah is so merciful to lead us in the truth with his Ruach when we let him lead. 100%. It's all about, do we have a heart for Yahuah? Or are we going to go after our own hearts? Are we going to be led astray by different men and different teachings? Or are we just going to test everything to his word like we should be doing? And we see we see how important these festivals, Shabbats, even these Noah days are to Yahuah. And how, people just, they follow others into some kind of different calendars and things like that. And, they neglect the laws of the luminaries that were put over us to show us these days, weeks, Shabbats, all these things. We don't see a Monday through Sunday mentioned anywhere in any of these books. Why is that? Because, our modern planetary 7-day week, it started in 321 AD. Before that, it was the Romans had a floating lunar quasi-week determined off the sliver moon that began with Saturday as day one. But anyways, so there's just a lot to unpack there in chapter 6, especially of Jubilees. And chapter 7 is actually where it gets into, so it's going to speak about Abraham, and I believe this is it. Yeah, Abraham and Isaac, and how, that day when Abraham went to go slaughter Isaac, it was on the 15th of the first month. I'm pretty sure that's in 7 and 8. But anyways, would anybody like to continue reading? Or if you want to continue, Sumi or Brandon? We like hearing you read, Sumi. Yeah, Babylon was 100% lunar.
Where are we at?
Jubilees, chapter 7.
And in the 7th week, in the 1st year, in this Yobel, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat, and they produced fruit in the 4th year, and guarded their fruit, and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine from them, and put it into a vessel, and kept it until the 5th year, until the 1st day, on the 1st day of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this festival, and he made a burnt offering to Yahuah, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a young goat, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the young goat first, and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar which he had made, and all the fat he laid on the altar where he made the burnt offering, and the bull and the ram and the sheep, and he arranged all their flesh on the altar. And he placed all offerings mixed with oil on it. And afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar. And he placed incense on the altar, and caused a sweet fragrance to ascend, acceptable for Yahuah his Elohim. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children, with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunk he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw Noah, his father, naked, and went out and told his 2 brothers outside. And Shem took his garment and arose, he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders and went backward, and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep, and knew all this that his younger son had done to him. And he cursed his son, and said, Cursed be Canaan, let him become a servant of servants to his brothers. And he baraked Shem, and said, Baruch be Yahuah Elohim of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. Let Elohim enlarge Japheth, and let Elohim dwell in the dwellings of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son. And he parted from his father, he and his sons with him, Cush and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And he built a city, and called its name after the name of his wife, Neliat Tamauk. And Japheth saw it, and became envious of his brother. And he too built the city. And he called its name after the name of his wife, Adatonnesis. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain. And he too called its name after the name of his wife, Zedek-Ketelabab. And see, these 3 cities are near Mount Lubar. Zedek-Ketelabab.
Oh boy.
Before the mountain on it. Stop, babe. I'm saying it right. You say it.
It's butchering no matter what.
I think I said it well.
Okay.
Zedek-Ketelabab, before the mountain on its east. And Nealatimuk on the south. Adatonnesis towards the west. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arpachshad. This son was born 2 years after the flood, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yawan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras, and Teras. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Yobel, Noah began to command his sons, the laws and commands, and all the right ruling that he knew. And he urged his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to barak their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their beings from whoring and uncleanliness and all wickedness. For owing to these 3 matters the flood came upon the earth, namely due to the whoring by which the watchers against the Torah of their laws went whoring after the daughters of men, and took wives for themselves of all they chose. And they made the beginning of uncleanliness. And they brought forth sons, the Nephidim, but they were all evil. And they devoured one another. And the giants slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew Elio, and the Elio mankind, and one another. And everyone sold himself to work wickedness, and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with wickedness. And after this they sinned against the beasts and birds, and all that moves and walks on the earth. and much blood was shed on the earth, and every inclination and desire of man planned worthlessness and evil continually. And Yahuah destroyed all from off the face of the earth because of the wickedness of their deeds, and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth. He destroyed all. And we were left, you and I, my sons, and all that entered with us into the ark. And look, I see your works before me, that you do not walk in righteousness, for you have begun to walk in the path of destruction, and you are parting from one another, and are envious of one another. And so it is that you are not in unity, my sons, each with his brother. For I look and see, the demons have begun their enticements against you and against your children. And now I fear on your behalf, that after my death you shall shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that you shall also be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoever sheds man's blood, and whoever eats the blood of any flesh, shall all be destroyed from the earth. And there shall not be left any man that eats blood, or that sheds the blood of man on the earth, nor shall there be left to him any seed or descendants living under the Shamaim. For they shall go into the grave, and they shall descend into the place of condemnation, and they shall all be removed into the darkness of the deep by a violent death. No blood is to be seen upon you. Of all that blood there shall be, all the days in which you have killed any beast or cattle or whatever flies upon the earth, and you perform a good work toward your beings by covering that which has been shed on the face of the earth. And you shall not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat flesh before you cover the blood. For thus have I been commanded to witness to you and your children together with all flesh. And do not allow the life to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For the earth shall not be clean from the blood which has been shed upon it. For only through the blood of him that shed it shall the earth be purified, through all its generations. And now, my children, listen. Work right ruling and righteousness, that you may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth, and your esteem lifted up before my Elohim, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And see, you shall go and build for yourselves cities, and plant in them all the plants that are upon the earth, and also all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years the fruit of all that is eaten shall not be gathered, and in the 4th year its fruit shall be reckoned Kodesh, acceptable before the Most High El, who created the Shamaim and earth and all matters. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil as first fruits on the altar of Yahuah, who receives it. And what is left, let the servants of the house of Yahuah eat before the altar which receives it. And in the 5th year you perform the release, so that you release it in righteousness and uprightness, and you shall be righteous, and all that you plant shall prosper. For so Hanok, the father of your father, commanded Methuselah his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech, and Lamech commanded me all the matters which his fathers commanded him. And I also shall give you command, my sons, as Hanok commanded his son in the first Jubilees, while still living, the 7th in his generation, he commanded and witnessed to his son, and to his son's sons, until the day of his death.
Amen.
Praise Yahuah.
Now we see why you gave Sumi this chapter.
Yeah, I know, right? No, you did pretty good at those pronunciations. I know. I couldn't
Them
have
words
done
were
it.
ridiculous. Them names were ridiculous.
Right? But yeah, no, see, again, we see the importance of, these laws, statutes, and commands, and, these offerings, and how we should not be eating the blood with the flesh, things like that. So, very important stuff. So yeah, did you want to continue reading here in chapter 8?
I'll
brother?
read it. Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Sounds good. All right. This is in the 29th Yobel, in the first week, in the beginning of it, Arpachshad took a wife, and her name was Resuya, the daughter of Eliam, and she bore him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and they called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek a place where he might seize a city. And he found a writing which former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was on it, and he transcribed it and sent it in regard to it, for it contained the teaching of the watchers in accordance with which they used to observe the signs of the sun and the moon and stars and all the signs of the Shemaim. And he
Yeah.
wrote it.
So
You good?
really quick, we see it was one of Noah's grandsons that found these carvings on the rock, the writings on the rock. This is how all these things that were happening before the flood, this is how they came to be after the flood. And then we see, the things that they used to observe the signs of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the different signs in the Shamaim.
So this is like
That's
hieroglyphics or something?
Yeah, basically. That's what it is.
Right.
And yeah, it was just found on a rock in the cave there. And that's how, we have what leads to what we have now. There's nothing new under the sun. But, zodiacs, horoscopes, and things like that, and following the moon. But anyways, yeah.
All right.
Go ahead and continue, brother.
All right. And it says, and he wrote down, but said not regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be wroth with him because of it. So he knew it was wrong and knew it was bad. And in the 30th Yobel, in the second week, in the first year, he took a wife, and her name was Melka, the daughter of Madai, the son of Japheth. And in the 4th year, he brought forth a son, and called his name Shelah. For he said, truly I have been sent. And Shelah grew up and took a wife, and her name was Muach, the daughter of Kesed, his father's brother, in the 31st Yobel, in the 5th week, in the 1st year. And she bore him a son in the 5th year, and he called his name Eber. And he took a wife for himself, and her name was Azarad, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Yobel, in the 7th week, in the 3rd year. And in the 6th year she bore him a son, and he called his name Peleg. For in the days when he was born, and the children of Noah began to divide the earth among themselves, for this reason he called his name Peleg. And they divided it secretly among themselves, and told it to Noah. And it came to be in the beginning of the 33rd Yobel, that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem and Ham and Japheth, and according to the inheritance of each, in the 1st year, in the 1st week, when one of us who had been sent was with them. And he called his son. Go ahead.
So really quick. So we see this is lining up exactly with Genesis, what we read in Genesis. But it doesn't go into detail what it means about the earth was divided in its days in Genesis. But it does right here in Jubilees. Mm-hmm. And we see even the lineages line up, they match. And just more proof of the validity of the book of Jubilees.
Amen, brother.
Hey, go ahead, brother.
All right. Then he called his sons, and they came near to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached out their hands and took their writing out of the bosom of Noah their father. And there came forth in the writing as Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons, for the generations forever, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina. And his portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river, and extends till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth and pours its waters into the sea Mayat. And this river flows into the great sea. And all that is towards the north is Japheth, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem, and it extends till it reaches Carasso. This is the bottom of the tongue which looks towards the south. And his portion extends along the great sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue which looks towards the south, for this sea is named the tongue of the Mitzrite Sea. And it turns from here towards the south, towards the mouth of the great sea, on the shore of its waters, and extends to the west of Afra. And it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon, to the banks of this river. And it extends towards the east, till it reaches the Garden of Eden, to the south from there, and from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east, it turns to the east, and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tena. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever until his generations forever. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in Nebuah. For he said, Baruch be Yahuah, Elohim of Shem, and let Yahuah dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the most Kodesh place, in the dwelling of Yahuah, and Mount Sinai, the century of the desert, and Mount Zion, the century of the navel of the earth. These three were created as Kodesh places facing each other. And Barak, the Elohim of mighty ones, who had put the word of Yahuah into his mouth, and Yahuah the everlasting. And he knew that a Baruch portion and a Barakah had come to Shem and his sons to their generations forever. The whole land of Eden, the whole land of the sea of reeds, and the whole land of the east, and Hodu, and on the sea of reeds and the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Caphtor, and all the mountains of Sinir and Amanah, and the mountains of Asher in the north, and all the lands of Eliam, and Asher, and Babel, and Shushan, and Madai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Ashashur, towards the north, a Baruch and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. And for Ham came forth the second portion beyond the Gahon, towards the south to the right of the garden, and it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west to the sea of Atel, and extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Maok, and that sea into which all which is not destroyed descends. And it extends towards the north limits of Gadir, and it extends to the coast of the waters of the sea of the waters of the great sea, till it draws near to the river Gihon, and passes along the river Gihon until it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham, as a portion which he was to occupy forever, he and his sons to their generations forever. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tena to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeasterly to the whole region of Gog, and to all the country east of there. And it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Kelt, towards the north, and towards the sea of Maok, and it extends to the east of Gadir, as far as the region of the waters of the sea, and it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Apharag, and it extends easterly to the waters of the sea of Maat, and it extends to the region of the river Tena in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters towards the mountain of Rapha, and it turns round towards the north. This is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons as the portion of his inheritance, which he should possess for himself and his sons to their generations forever, 5 great islands and a great land in the north. But it is cold, and the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but it is mixed of cold and heat. Makes me think of the lukewarm and all
Yeah, right?
that.
There's a lot of interesting stuff here, and we see a lot of the land also is towards the north and things like that. And I believe it's speaking about the sections of the earth, kind of like Enoch is speaking about. And don't ask me to put any kind of map together about this, because, yeah, good luck with that. But
I was just going to ask for that map.
Right?
Yeah, me too. I was going to ask to you make us a map, Jeremy.
No, go ahead and put it together, Natalie. That's all you. But yeah, no, we see.
Get me the information and I'll make a cute graphic.
Perfect. But yeah, so this just goes into more detail on how the earth was divided, and really just the information that Genesis didn't give us. And it's like, well, how was the earth divided at that time? Well, we see Jubilees goes into it.
I mean, in the Book of Enoch, in the God Culture Book of Enoch. He's got the map in there. It's all been written out. I don't know how accurate it is, but yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, that's right. I would take his map with a grain of salt, but yeah. No, that's true. Maybe we'll have to go over that or something. Try and figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I just that's what we've seen, and that's what I thought I'd just share.
Yeah. No, thank you, sister. Yeah, exactly. If there's any direction to bounce from, yeah. I mean, that's a lot to try to put together on a map, especially with all the deception and confusion and things like that. You know, the hidden lands and the hidden areas. Yeah, lots of hidden stuff for sure. All right, so let's see. Did anybody else want to continue reading here? Jubilees chapter 9? Or if you want to continue, Sumi?
Go ahead.
All right. So Naham divided among his sons, and the first portion came forth Cush towards the east, and to the west of him for Mitzrayim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him on the sea of Canaan. And Shem also divided among his sons, and the first portion came forth of Eliam and his sons to the east of the river Tigris, till it approaches the east, the whole land of Hodu, and on the sea of reeds on its coast, and the waters of Dedan, and on the mountains of Mebri and Elah, and all the land of Shushan, and all that is on the side of Farnak, to the sea of reeds and the river Tina. And for Asher came forth the second portion, all the land of Asher, and Nineveh, and Shinar, and to the border of Hodu, and it ascends and surrounds the river. And for Arpachshad came forth the third portion, all the land of the region of the Kasdim, to the east of the Parath, bordering on the sea of reeds, and all the waters of the desert close to the tongue of the sea which looks towards Mitzrayim, all the land of Lebanon and Sinir and Armana, to the border of the Parath, of the Parath. And for Aram there came forth the fourth portion, all the land of the Aram Naharaim, between the Tigris and the Parath, to the north of the Kadim, to the border of the mountains of Asher and the land of Ararah. And there came forth for Lud the fifth portion, the mountains of Asher, and all the belonging to them, till it reaches the great sea, until it reaches the east of Asher, his brother. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance among his sons. And the first portion came forth for Gomer, to the east from the north side to the river Tina, and in the north there came forth Magog, all the inner portions of the north until it reaches to the sea of Maat. And for Madai came forth as his portion, that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands, and to the coast of the islands. And for Yoan came forth the fourth portion, every island and the islands which are towards the border of Lud. And for Tabal there came forth the fifth portion, in the midst of the tongue which approaches towards the border of the portion of Lud, to the second tongue, to the region beyond the second tongue, to the third tongue. And from Meshech came forth the sixth portion, all the region beyond the third tongue, till it approaches the east of Gadir. And for Tyrus there came forth the seventh portion, 4 great islands in the midst of the sea, which reach to the portion of Ham, the porch. And thus the sons of Noah divided to their sons in the presence of Noah their father, and he bound them all by an oath, proclaiming a curse on every one that sought to seize the portion which had not fallen to him by his lot. And they all said, so be it, for themselves and their sons forever throughout their generations, to the day of judgment, on which Yahuah Elohim shall judge them with sword and with fire, for all the unclean wickedness of their strayings, with which they have filled the earth, and with transgression, uncleanness, and whoring and sin.
Yeah. And so we see, that there will be a curse put on everyone that sought to seize a different portion of land than theirs. So we see all the ones of Canaan, they were basically went to Shem's portion of land. So, not only were they drinking blood and all this, they were cursed, but they also got another curse because they were in a piece of land that was not theirs. So it goes a lot deeper as to why, those types had to be completely wiped out, the men, the women, the children, all these things, because they were a curse.
In chapter 10, and in the 3rd week of this Yobel, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to mislead and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they informed him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before Yahuah, his Elohim, and said, Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown kindness to me, and has saved my sons and I from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish, as you did the sons of destruction. For your favor has been great towards me, and your kindness has been great to my being. Let your favor be lifted upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But may you barak my sons, and I, that we may increase and multiply and fill the earth. And you know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of your servant, my Elohim, for these are evil and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for you alone exercise rule over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from this time and forever. And Yahuah our Elohim commanded us to bind all. Amen. And the chief of the spirits, Mestama, came and said, Adonai, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them listen to my voice, and do all that I shall say to them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my purpose on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my right ruling, and for the wickedness of the sons of men is great. And he said, Let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words. All the wicked evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and a 10th part of them we left that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their accomplishments, how he might heal them with herbs on the earth. And Noah wrote down all matters in a book as we instructed him, and concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were prevented from hurting the sons of Noah. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers, and was buried on Mount Labar, in the land of Ariat. 950 years he completed in his life, 19 Yobelim, and 2 weeks and 5 years. And in his life on the earth he excelled the children of men, except Hanok, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. For Hanok's office was ordained for a witness to the generations of the world, so that he should recount all the deeds of generation unto generation, till the day of judgment. And in the
Real quick.
33rd year.
Hold up. Sorry. So yeah, that's where is that? It's the Noah's Book of Herbs. So yeah, that's interesting. I was looking for this earlier, but yeah, it's 10, 12, and 13 right here. Jubilees. I could have sworn it was in Enoch. But yeah, we see, this matches right up with Sirach. Actually, let me go to that real quick, because I have it right here. So, actually, it's in chapter 38. Where is it? It's way at the beginning here. So, here, I'll just read right from the beginning. So, yeah, Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus. It's also called Wisdom, or Ben Sirach as well. Different names, same book. But the esteem of a physician with the esteem due to him, for the uses which you may have for him, for Yahuah has created him. And we see Yahuah created the great physician Noah as well. But anyways, for healing comes from the Most High, and he shall receive esteem from the Sovereign. The skill of the physician shall raise his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be admired. Yahuah has created medicines out of the earth, and he who is wise does not reject them. And I just wanted to cover that really quick, because that's exactly what I was trying to look for this morning, and I should have just read a few more verses down and I would have found it, huh? But it just shows the importance of, there's healing herbs or natural remedies and things that Yahuah made for us. And those who, reject them are unwise. But anyways, go ahead and continue there, sister.
18. And in the 33rd Yobel, in the first year, in the second week, Peleg took a wife, whose name was Lamna, the daughter of Sinar, and she bore him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Reu. For he said, See, the children of men have become evil, through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the land of Shinar. For they departed from the land of Ariat eastward to Shinar. For in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Come, let us ascend thereby into the Shamaim. And they began to build, and in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the brick served them for stone, and the clay with which they cemented them together was asphalt, which comes out of the sea and out of the fountains of water in the land of Shinar. And they built it 43 years, they were building it. Its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of a brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 amma, and 2 tophah, and the extent of one wall was 13 stades, and of the other 30 stades. And Yahuah our Elohim said to us, See, they are one people, and this thing they do, and this they begin to do. And now naught shall be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and they may be dispersed into cities and nations, and one purpose shall no longer endure with them till the day of judgment. And Yahuah descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And he confused their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and they ceased then to build the city and the tower. For this reason the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because there Yahuah confounded all the language of the children of men. And from there they were dispersed into their cities, and according to his language and his nation. And Yahuah sent a mighty wind against the tower, and overthrew it upon the earth. And see, it was between Ashur and Babel, in the land of Shinar, and they called its name Overthrow. In the 4th week, in the beginning of the 1st year, in the 44th Yobel, they were dispersed from the land of Shinar, and Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Mitzrayim, that it was very good, but he did not go into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is, to the sea. But he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward, from the border of Jordan, and from the border of the sea. And Ham, his father, and Cush, and Mitzrayim, his brothers, said to him, You have settled in a land which is not yours, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if you do so, you and your sons shall fall on the land and be accursed through a rebellion. For by rebellion you have settled, and by rebellion your children shall fall, and you shall be rooted out forever. Do not dwell in the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons it came by their lot. Cursed are you, and cursed shall you be over all the sons of Noah, with the curse by which we bound ourselves with an oath in the presence of the Kodesh judge, and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not listen to them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon, from Hamath as far as the entrance of Mitzrayim, he and his sons to this day. And for this reason that land is named Canaan. And Japheth and his sons went towards the sea and dwelt in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him. And he begged a portion from Eliam and Asher and Arpachshad, his wife's brother, and he dwelt in the land of Madai, near to his wife's brother to this day. And he called his dwelling, and the dwelling of his sons, Madai, after the name of their father, Madai.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. And we see some of them did not like their portion of land, so they were trying to trade off things. Yeah, I agree, Sister Natalie. Hearing others read, such a barakoth. And yeah, as we see more of the land being divided to more of the sons, and different parts of the land as well, and at specific times of the year as well. And we see, actually, what was it? So the mighty wind that went against the Tower of Babel and threw it up against the earth, upon the earth. And it was then called overthrow from there on, which is rather interesting. And that's why we don't see the remnants of this tower or anything like that today. It was overthrown, tossed upon the earth by Yahuah himself. And I think chapter 11 was going to be our last reading of it, because this is good. Actually, this is when it's going to get into Abraham and Isaac next. So but we see here all the connections and the correlations and parallels with the book of Genesis. There's nothing that's contradictory or anything like that. There's a lot of people that like to claim, all these things are contradictory in Jubilees. But we see it lines up perfectly. Even down to, the generations, the naming of the sons, all these things. It just goes into more detail about the story we are told in Genesis. And it's really amazing. And is there anybody that would like to volunteer to read chapter 11 here? It'll be our last reading in the book of Jubilees for today, for the Torah portion.
I'll read unless somebody else wants to.
It looks like it may be you there, brother.
Going once, going twice? Okay. All right. Here we go. Chapter 11, verse 1. And in the 35th Yobel, in the 3rd week in the 1st year, Reu took a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of the son of Chesed. And she bore him a son in the 7th year of this week in this Yobel, and he called his name Sero. And the sons of Noah began to fight with each other, to capture and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities and walls and towers. And some exalted themselves above the nation, and established the beginnings of reigns, and went to battle, people against people, and nation against nation, and city against city, and all did evil, and acquired weapons, and taught their sons battle. And they began to capture cities, and to sell male and female slaves. And the son of Chesed, built the city of Erah of the Kasdim, and called its name after his own name, and the name of his father. And they made for themselves molded images, and they each worshipped the idol. the molded image which they had made for themselves, and they began to make carved images and unclean likenesses, and evil spirits assisted and seduced them into committing transgression and uncleanness. And the prince of Matstima exerted himself into all this, and he sent out their other spirits, those which were put under his hand, to do all kinds of evil and sin, and all kinds of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood on the earth. For this reason he called the name of Serug, for everyone turned to do all kinds of sin and transgression. And he grew up and dwelt in Kasdim, near to the father of his wife's mother, and he worshipped idols, and he took a wife in his 36th Yobel, in the 5th week in the 1st year, and her name was Melka, the daughter of Kabir, and the daughter of his father's brother. And she bore him Nahor in the 1st year of this week, and he grew and dwelt in Kasdim, and his father taught him the researches of the Kasdim to divine and foretell according to the signs of the Shamaim. In the 37th Yobel, in the 6th week, in the 1st year, he took a wife, and her name was Ayaska, the daughter of Nestag of the Kasdim. And she bore him Terah in the 7th year of this week. And the prince Mastima sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land. Man, that sounds like the sowing, the parable of the sowers. Which was sown in the land in order to, that's what I got. I don't know if anybody else did. This is which was sown in the land in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men of their labors before they could plow in the seed. The ravens pecked it from the surface of the ground.
Yeah, real quick. So I wanted to cover, so Prince Mastema, that's what Jubilees calls, that's Hasatan himself right there. And actually, I meant to cover this last chapter because we read it, but we see it was only like 1/10 of all these unclean ruach that were, kept here. They didn't get bound up. So can you imagine, if those weren't bound up, how much more, wrathful and disgusting and detestable this earth would be? I just thought that kind of interesting. And that's what I just wanted to mention there real quick. But go ahead there, brother.
What verse are we in again, brother? I lost my place.
Oh, no worries. So we just read verse 12, starting on verse 13.
All right. Okay. Then the years began to be barren because of the birds, and they've devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could save a little of all the fruit of the earth in their days. In this 39th Yobel, in the 2nd week in the 1st year, Terah took a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. In the 7th year of this week, she bore him a son, and he called his name Abram, by the name of the father of his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived his son. Oh boy, that stinks, man. And the children began to understand the strayings of the earth, that all went astray after carved images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writing, and he was 14 years old, and he separated himself from his father that he might not worship idols with him. And he began to pray to the Creator of all matters, that he might save him from the strayings of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into strayings after uncleanness and wickedness. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed on the land, and they all went out together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abram went out with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed, and Abram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, "Do not descend. Return to the place where you came." And they proceeded to turn back.
He rebuked them.
Yeah, amen, baby. And he caused the clouds of the ravens to turn back that day 70 times, man. And all the ravens throughout all the land where Abram was, not so much as one settled there. And all who were with him throughout all the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back, and his name became became great in all the land of the Chazim. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home and ate and were satisfied. And in the first year of the 5th week, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen and craftsmen in wood. It was pretty much the yoke, right? And they made a vessel above the ground facing the frame of the plow in order to put the seed on. And the seed fell down from there upon the share of the plow and was hidden in the earth, and they no longer feared the ravens. And in this way they made vessels above the ground on all the frames of the plows, and they sowed and tilled all the land accordingly as Abram commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. That's pretty cool. Amen.
Yeah, very interesting. And I don't know if you all have read the Testament of Abraham. It's also called the Apocalypse of Abraham. But it goes into more detail of Terah and his father's idols and things like that. And it actually goes in more into this story here that we read in Jubilees about Abraham, or Abram, as he was called before. And as we can see, this is all lining up with what Scripture says as well. And actually, in our next chapter, I was incorrect before. It wasn't about Abraham and Isaac, but our next section is going to be just like, it's going to go over Abraham and Isaac. And it's very important because, Jubilees gives specific dates. And so that's when we're going to read how it was the 15th of the first month, or the day of the festival of Matzah, that Abraham went to go offer up Isaac. And that ram was caught in the bush, or a male lamb, and that was offered up instead. So it goes into very deep connections with, Messiah. Also the very deep connections to the high Sabbath of the Feast of Matzah, or unleavened bread. So really fascinating stuff. And then we see, all these ravens and crows, they were coming in to, eat up all the crops and the food. And because Abraham was the only one, set apart, because as we read before, they started following idols and carving idols and following those. So they were being cursed with these ravens. And because Abraham was set apart, he followed Yahuah, he was able to rebuke all these birds and these ravens and things like that. And then he became, a great man in the eyes of these people, because they all wanted him to come to their place when it was time to sow the seeds. And we see that's really the MO all throughout scriptures. We see the same thing happening with Joseph and things like that. He became great in Mitzrayim. The testament of the 12 patriarchs as well. They all became great in their own way. And it's really beautiful, the deep connections that we can see in scriptures, especially when we're reading these books that were removed from scriptures. These are the books that people want to say, oh, well, there's contradictions here and there, and I wouldn't trust them. They were removed for a reason, things like that. And those are the ones that, sadly, they're just parroting others and what others say about these books without ever reading or testing them for themselves. Yeah, the whole point is for the righteous seed, the sons, exactly. Those who choose to follow Yahuah, not the ones following idols in the world. It's really all a matter of the heart. It truly is. And it's our own hearts. Do we have a heart to follow Yahuah and his truths? Or do we have a heart to follow our own thoughts and feelings and emotions and desires, things like that? And then if we choose to follow him and his heart, that is how he will cover our sins that we've committed in the past. That's how we, in turn, are made perfect. Because he says for us to be perfect as he is perfect. How do we do that? We follow him. We turn from sin, and then he makes us perfect. Not that we are perfect, because we are still here in the flesh, and this is why we have to die to our flesh daily. But we are made perfect because he will blot out our sins if we continue to follow that narrow path and we turn from sin and repent. It's really amazing, honestly. Very beautiful. And it shows his love and compassion and, how much he loves each and every one of us. Yeah, his ways are perfect, and we are to follow his ways. That's how we were made perfect. Precisely, Andrea. Yep, and all those verses in Enoch there as well. We were just reading and covering those the other night. And we see Enoch was shown, all these things that were going to happen. He was given prophecy to all of this. But as we can see, Jubilees, it lines up perfectly with what Genesis reads. It just covers more detail and goes into, more explanations, especially about the division of the land and things like that. And yeah, Messiah came. He came here to, be our example of how we should walk. He was perfect. So we have to strive to be perfect like him. Not that we are, because we all fall short. Yeah, I actually enjoy going through these Torah portions here, especially with Jubilees in the mix. And I was looking for any kind of, Torah portions with Jubilees, and I have not found any. Like, nobody seems to want to include the Book of Jubilees with the Torah portions. I believe it's, very important to include. And yeah, I'll have to find my notes about when we went over Noah's flood and cover that again. I know it was quite some time ago. It was probably over a year ago that we covered it. It was early on in our fellowship here when we had like maybe 15 or 20 people. But yeah, the story of Noah's flood, it lines up on the Zadok calendar, and it shows the importance of these 4 Noah days at the heads of each season. And we see the importance it is and how they're the same. They're observed the same way as the weekly Shabbat is observed. We also read how Noah gave an offering on that first day of the first month. Yeah, there's just so many deep connections, and all praise to the Most High Yahuah. Very beautiful. And I really appreciate you being able to read there, Sister Sumi and Brother Brandon. Appreciate it very much. Awesome. Is today the 25th of the 10th month? Let me double check, actually. Let's see, what's the date today? Yeah, you are correct. It's the 25th of the 10th month. Yeah, because we know the new year does not start in the dead of winter. Yeah, the mountains, the top of the mountains just peek through. Yeah, correct. Interesting. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, all praise to the Most High Yahuwah. Definitely a transitional time for sure. Oh, perfect timing, Sister Jermaine. I was just about to ask if you wanted to do your reading there in Psalms for us. But yeah, no, I really appreciate all those who read and all who read last week as well. I know Sister Marissa is having, her, so they usually do a in-person fellowship like once a month or so at her place. So that's why her, Miranda, and the Pacey House are not here with us today, but they usually contribute to a lot of reading as well. But they're fellowshipping in person at Marissa's house. Yeah, do it, Natalie. Are you keen for breakfast now? Yes.
Can I ask a question while Jermaine's busy?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Going back to the ark being round, like obviously I believe in, the flat earth biblical cosmology and the the tabernacle of the wilderness being round. Do you have any information on the ark of Noah being round? Like, are there any pictures or resources? I'd like to look into that.
Well, I was just thinking about it because all the other ones around, but then,
Mm-hmm.
I was reminded, Ron Wyatt's findings as well, wasn't round, but definitely something to look into. It was just something going through my head, so.
Well, like just thinking about boats and how they work, like most are, kind of like an airplane, like they're aerodynamic so that they can cut through the waters and stuff. But in this case, you wouldn't be wanting to cut through the waters. You wouldn't have a sail or you wouldn't have a rudder, or you wouldn't have a motor, obviously. So you're not trying to get anywhere, you're just trying to survive. And maybe a circle, kind of like an inner tube, would help you ride the waves better. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, it does. Oh, well, look at that. Sumi's on top of things. Oh,
Oh, cool.
interesting. But yeah, I was just reminded that, when I said that, after I said that, there was Ron Wyatt's findings as well with the arc. So, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely something to look into and see what's up. And that's rather interesting, that picture you shared there, Sumi. Is that like Latin there at the bottom? No doubt it is, right? Yeah, very interesting.
Also, I had one other thing.
Yeah,
So
go
we
ahead.
talked earlier about like the healing and the medicines and like the book. Um, so it took me back to Hanuk or Enoch, where it talks about, I think it was chapter 7, where it talks about like the things the fallen watchers had taught the sons of men. Um, and it talks about like the root cuttings and stuff in there. But then it also goes on to talk about like the beautifying of the eyes and like the metals and the swords and everything. So even writing and reading, I think. And so it's like, is it just those things that Yahuwah never meant for us to have that knowledge, but once we had it, he wanted to teach us the proper way to use all those things? Where's that book? Where's the book of Noah's medicine? I don't really have a question. I just sitting here in my mind, just thinking about it.
Yeah, no. I want to know the answer to that question as well, honestly. Yeah, I've heard that theory actually, Michael. Actually, that's what God culture claims. Very interesting. I mean, who knows? It could be true, to be honest. But then we see, Ron Wyatt, he was shown the true location of Mount Sinai, and we could literally see the split rock there. We see the burnt top of the mountain. He found the crossing of the Red Sea right there, and there's chariot wheels and horse bones and all kinds of stuff down there. Even stones at each end, like what's written about. There's that pillar he put at both ends that was found. Yeah, Ron Wyatt's pretty awesome. He's got some awesome stuff. Wow, interesting, Michael. Look at that. Because if you think about it, everything else is round, like the tabernacle. I believe the Ark of the Covenant was round as well, because it's resembling, our realm in the Shamayim, all of these things. And we know the synagogue of Hasatan likes to use squares and things like that. Yeah, they are definitely in Turkey. That synagogue of Hasatan is everywhere, honestly. Yeah, Moses' basket. Wow, very interesting. And yeah, because, that reminds me, because here, I'm sure it's probably more than just here, but we have like a river, and then you can like rent tubes and float down the river and things like that. But those tubes, like, they don't go under. Very hard to pull them under, and they have that like round design for that. But yeah, Moses's basket. That's, man, that's Satan's throne. Interesting. So yeah, maybe what Ron Wyatt found there was an ark. Maybe it was some kind of different ark or something. Very good question, though. Yeah, Moses, meaning drawn from the water, as was Noah and his people. Boom. Le- Interesting. That verse in Revelation 2:12 through 13. Yeah. He also had claimed to found the Ark of the Covenant, and he found DNA on it, and he got that DNA tested, and it was supposedly living DNA. Perhaps he did find it. I don't know. But, the story he tells makes a lot of sense, though. Like, what if the ark was underneath where Yahusha was crucified and that blood in the water came down, sealing that covenant because it spilled over the ark of the covenant? Yeah.
Sorry, I just got a mouthful, but it also reminds me of those blow up there's like blow up boats for if you like a blow up raft made for the oceans, and I'd say they're that shape because of how they work on the ocean, no matter what roughness of the waves and stuff are. Do you know the ones I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they're designed that way. And like a lot of escape rafts and things like that as well. Because when they go down and hit the water, it's not going to affect them like, like a long, skinny boat. Like, it's going to get rocked to and fro. But if you have, a wide, round foundation like that, all the boats can come that you like, and it's not really going to affect it. Very interesting. Yeah, dinghies. Them thingies. Them dinghies. Right? The circle of the earth, circle of the wilderness, Ark of the Covenant said to be round. Yeah. So we can see, just like the toroidal vortex as well, that's round. It's got that, you know, curve just like that. And definitely onto something with this round thing. I agree. Yeah, the Fibonacci sequence, it's like a round shape when you draw it out. Very, very intriguing, honestly. I'm inclined to believe that all these things were round, not square. I believe even Solomon's temple was round, not a square. Yeah, Fibonacci sequence, exactly, exactly. It all comes back, it's circular. Yeah, yeah, exactly, Ashley. That black cube, which actually represents Saturn. Infinite, yes, exactly. Because that circular is infinite. It just goes round and round and round. And yeah, they always portray these things as squared. And actually reading, when you read through Leviticus, it actually says in a couple of spots that it was a table. It says make it square. Like this one, make it square. Well, why would that have to be stated to make that square and not everything else? Do you remember what verse that was, Andrea? By chance? But yeah, it specifically speaks in Leviticus about, make this part round, or sorry, square. Yeah, circled around Jericho. Jericho is the city of the moon. Yarako is what it is in Hebrew. And that city was actually shaped like a crescent moon. Yarako was the first to fall when they came in, therefore getting rid of the Babylonian moon worship. Yep, they are circles, the sun and moon. Even the stars, they are these circles as well. When you actually zoom in on them, they make these cymatic patterns from the frequencies because they are singing to Yahuah day and night constantly. The wheel within the wheel, like Ezekiel saw. What's that wheel within the wheel? It's because these cymatic patterns from the frequencies. Because the angels singing to Yahuah, giving them praise, things like that. The triangles, they're obsessed with the triangles. Because you put two triangles together, you get a square. Not only that, it matches their, Freemasonic compass and square design that they have everywhere. And they put the eyeball on top of the triangle pyramid. Yeah, they're the quote-unquote Star of David. David didn't have a star. Moloch had a star. Moloch is also known as Saturn as well. Interesting enough. And that Star of David has that hexagon or whatever right in the center of it. What else has a hexagon in the quote-unquote center of it? It's Saturn. Yeah, Saturn trying to steal Yahuwah's circles. Exactly. Think outside the box. Precisely. No boxes. That's why we shouldn't box anybody in. Oh, it's not tour nutty. There's Sister Ashley. Yohanan the Immerser was called crazy. All the prophets were called crazy. They call us crazy too. Perfect. Awesome, Sister Jermaine. Yeah, whenever you're ready, go ahead and jump in.
Yep. Okay. So again, reading from the Lexham English Septuagint. I'm reading from my 21 and 22. I believe it's your 22 and 23. Okay, for the end, on behalf of the help of the early morning, a psalm of David. O Alayam, my Alayam, attend to me. For what purpose did you abandon me? Hey, and everyone, don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep, just listen. Far away from my salvation are the words of my transgressions. O my Alayam, I will cry aloud for days to you, and you will not hear. And during the night there is nothing for my folly. But you, the praise of Yahshua, dwell in the set-apart place. Upon you our fathers hoped. They hoped, and you rescued them. To you they cried aloud, and they were saved. Upon you they hoped, and they were not disgraced. But I am a worm, and not a person, a reproach of humanity, and an object of contempt of the people. All the ones who look at me turn up their nose at me. They speak with their lips, and they shake their head. He hoped upon Yahuah. Let him rescue him. Let him save him, because he wants him. For you are the one who drew me out of the womb. You are my hope from the breasts of my mother. Upon you I was cast from the womb. From my mother's belly you are my Alayam. Do not turn away from me. For affliction is near, because there is no one who helps. Young bulls encircled me. Many fat bulls surrounded me. They opened their mouth against me, as a lion that snatches away and roars. I was poured out like water, and all my bones were scattered. My heart became like beeswax melting in the middle of my belly. My strength was dried up like an earthen vessel, and my tongue has been glued to my throat. You led me into the dust of death, for many dogs encircled me. A gathering of those doing evil surrounded me. They pierced my hands and feet. They can count all my bones. They perceived and gazed upon me. They distributed my garments among themselves, and they cast lot for my clothing. But you, O Yahuah, do not delay my rescue. Give heed to my help. Rescue my soul from the sword, and my unique one from the hand of a dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion, and my lowliness from the horn of the unicorn. I will set out in detail your name to my brothers. In the middle of the assembly I will sing to you. Those who fear Yahuah praise him all together. Seed of Jacob, glorify him. Let the seed of Yasharal fear him altogether. For he did not scorn, nor was he irritated with the entreaty of the poor, nor did he turn his face away from me. And when I cried out to him, he gave ear to me. From you is my praise in the great assembly. I will render my prayers before those who fear him. The poor will eat and be satisfied. The ones who seek him will praise Yahuah. Their hearts will live for eternity of eternity. All the ends of the earth will remember and return to Yahuah, and all the families of the nations will worship before him. For the kingdom is Yahuah's, and he is Yahuah over the nations. All the fat of the earth ate and worshipped before him. All the ones who come down into the earth bowed down. And my soul lives for him. My seed will serve him. The generation that is coming will be reported to the Lord. Yahuah. They will report his righteousness to the people who are being born, whom Yahuah made. Anyone want to say anything about that?
No,
He's all gone to sleep.
we're still awake.
We're awake here.
I think it's very beautiful. The crowns, it's back to what I was saying, we are made perfect, not because we are perfect. It's because we choose that will get those crowns.
Yeah.
I could listen forever.
So did anyone catch that bit in the middle there regarding similarities of Messiah?
Ooh, wow. Actually, now that you mention
I was
it.
poured out like water. Yeah, 15, or it might be your 14. I was poured out like water, and all my bones were scattered. My heart became like beeswax melting in the middle of my belly. My strength was dried up like an earthen vessel, and my tongue has been glued to my throat. You led me into the dust of death, for many dogs encircled me. A gathering of those doing evil surrounded me. They pierced my hands and my feet. They can count all my bones. They perceived and gazed upon me, and they distributed my garments among themselves, and they cast a lot for my clothing.
That's it right there, yeah. We see that exact happening with Yahusha. And it reminds me, it's like thinking about Yahuah as the ocean water and scooping a glass of that ocean water out into a vessel. That vessel is human flesh. That ocean water is the Ruach of Yahuah. It's that same water, just in a smaller, lesser vessel. And then there it speaks about he was poured out like water. So it just kind of made me think of that analogy, actually. Really, really awesome.
Alrighty, I'll go on to the next one. It'll be your 23, but it's my 22. Yahuah shepherds me, and nothing will be lacking for me. In a place of tender grass, there he causes me to dwell. At the river of rest he nourishes me, and he turns around my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness on account of his name. For even if I should go in the middle of the shadow of death, I will not fear evil things, because you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they exhort me. You prepare before me a table opposite those who afflict me. You anoint my head with olive oil, and your drinking cup is satisfying as the best. Your mercy will pursue me all the days of my life, and my dwelling will be in the house of Yahuah for the length of days. Beautiful.
Love it. Love it. For the length of days. That reminds me too, there's a lot of verses that speak about how Yahuah adds length of days to those who follow him. Really profound.
Oh yeah, and I also wanted to mention back in the previous it's my 27, but it's a different verse in yours. I can't remember which one, but anyway, the one before or after. At the end of it, it says, their hearts will live for eternity of eternity. It just sounds like something you would read over just easily. Someone else's might say forever and ever or whatever, but their hearts will live. It's not about the body. It's not about what we've got, but it's all about the heart. It's the heart that's going to live. The soul for eternity of eternity.
Yeah, it's always a matter of the heart, a heart issue.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, there's 2 really good Psalms there. Oh, they're all good, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They really are. Yeah. Telahim or Psalms 22. That praise Yahuah, Sumi. That's what it takes, reading several times a day, not just really read as much as you can throughout the day. I've been doing that. It's all about dwelling in his word day in, day out. That's how we get to learn, the knowledge from him, his wisdom. We also learn discernment as well. Because when we dwell in his word, anything that's not of his word will stick out like a sore thumb. Yeah, keeps your Tahoe safe. Not from you though, right, Sumi? Yeah, no, it's really dwelling in his word is really beautiful. And yeah, they mention of dogs there as well in scriptures. You look up the meaning of that word and it's literally the definition is, these male cult prostitutes and things like that, according to scriptures. Yeah, the body who they pierced, the right hand of Yahuah. It goes very deep. And yeah, he was surrounded by dogs. Exactly. Yes, these cult male prostitutes. Yeah, Barak Yahuah. truly. Which actually so I have a write-up about that. I still have to get all the rest of the verses in there, but I made a little write-up walking through that, how Yahusha is Yahuah in the flesh. And I know it's not something many people would agree about, but I believe it's something much deeper than most people understand and realize. That's where the importance of the North comes in. That's where the importance of being in the midst of his people is, in the midst of the earth. Like I'd written there earlier. Yeah, boom. Like I'd written there earlier. So the Garden of Eden, it's in the midst of the city because, we even see that here in Babylon. There's gardens in the midst of our cities. So then we have the Garden of Eden, which Jubilees says is the dwelling place of Yahuah. It's the most set apart place. That's in the midst of New Jerusalem, which is the heavenly tabernacle, the whole city of Yahuah. That is in the midst of Zion, which is the most important mountain of Yahuah, which is in the midst of the earth, meaning the middle of the earth, or what we would know as the north. And it's so he can dwell in the midst of his people. It's really beautiful. Yeah, he placed Adam there as well, correct. And yeah, Psalm 23, Sons of Korah does a lot of the Psalms. Actually, I think they have like all the Psalms sung. And yeah, what is that? Left and Right Ministries also covered that as well. There's a lot of beautiful songs out there for the Telahim, the Psalms. Oh, they didn't cover all of them. My bad. Well, they covered quite a bit of them, including Psalm 19, which is one of my favorites, all about the circuit of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Yep. Boom. There you go, Sister Lisa. No matter where we are on this flat earth, we can look up the north and praise him together because he's in the midst of his people, in the midst of the earth. And actually, when you read through scriptures, that word in the midst is in there quite often. Yeah, I love Psalm 19. Got that magnetic north, that is Mount Zion. Boom. Out on a globe, no spinning ball. Yeah, otherwise Mr. Germain wouldn't be able to look up and see. Yeah, it's all very important, the understanding of the shape of our realm and what they did to try to hide the shape of our realm. And when you think about it, it's all to hide the truth of Yahuah. And once you realize how deep that deception goes, it starts unlocking more of these keys to seeing the deception behind everything else. It really does. And then we can see when we start reading through scriptures how the North is very important in so many aspects. That's the thing, like, no one speaks about at all. They actually mock it. They scoff at it. Like, oh, you guys think it's in the North Pole? Ha ha ha. You mean that's where Santa Claus is? Ha ha ha. Well, it's not us who they're mocking and scoffing at. It's Yahuah, because they don't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear, and they just want to reject anything that doesn't fit their own ideology or their own heart. Yeah, the Atmos plane, the Stratos plane. No spheres. Boom. Yeah, exactly. They cover it up with that Satan's claws. That's how they make a mockery of it and then get people to, laugh and mock and scoff at it. Like it's all some kind of joke. Same thing with what they do. They say all these, chimeras and these, myths and legends that are written about in our historical documents. They say, oh, that's just a myth. It's what they believed in back there. Well, no. These things are describing giants and chimeras and all these things that actually existed. Everything written about in his word, in the scriptures. And yeah, so I don't believe the North Star would be seen from as far down as Germain is in Australia. And it's because how the firmament works. I actually have a video explaining it, going into a lot of depth about that. And it's also how we can see a 24-hour sun in the south because of the firmament itself. So like a funhouse mirror, for example, how they have those like curves in the mirrors and things like that, and it'll like split your image. So if you take a round, like just a round mirror, like a circle mirror, but from the inside, and you look, you're going to see three different images. Like if you're looking any one direction, and one will be read the right way, one will be read backwards, and then it'll be the right way again. It's the same way as the firmament works. So it's bouncing the light and things like that back. I'll have to share my video again, actually. It'll explain it better visually. Yeah, precisely. That's why rainbows and arches, they're that shape because of the firmament. Yeah, like a concave, there you go, like a concave spoon. Precisely. Yep, Krampus. Exactly. And yeah, the North Star would be, so they call it the Big Dipper, but the end, where the end of the ladle is, like the handle, that's always pointing at the North Star. They arch more in the north and are more wide in the south. Yeah. Yeah, these star trails, like through a time-lapse camera, we see it's a perfect circle that these stars make. There's no weeble wobbling in there. There's no different stars and things like that, like there would be if we lived on a spinning ball that's flying, hundreds of billions of miles per hour through a endless, vacuum of space. You know, the sun is, chasing the center of the galaxy, and then, all the planets are chasing the sun, and it's really crazy. And then to state that we're going to see the same exact stars in the sky every single night for thousands and thousands of years. There's like a GIF somewhere that describes that. Let me see if I can find it, share it. But it shows like, and it's really a little thing that they use. Like it shows the sun. Oh, here it is, right here. Boom, share it. But yeah, that's what they say we're doing here in this, vacuum of space. But yet somehow we see all the same exact stars in the sky every single night. Yeah, it's ridiculous when you think about it, honestly. The sad part is people believe that that's what we're actually doing. And it's like, there's no way. There's no way. Yeah, that's why they're the sheeple, yeah. Because they know the truth. They hide it in front of everybody's faces. They know that nobody takes the time to actually research and study these things or just believe their eyes see. They program us with, space and rockets and all these things since we're children. Start when talking about flat Earth, I start with, "Whoa, do you feel that?" They say, "What?" I didn't feel anything. I say, "Me either." Stationary, 100%. Yeah, actually, let me find that video for you. I'll share it. I did a little video on how the firmament works, and it literally explains with visuals how it works just like that. Here, I got it here. Let me get the link. And yeah, if you're on YouTube listening, you could just type in how firmament works, cover to cover, and my video should be the first one that pops up. Yeah, and it's because of also the amount of water in vapor form, of course, that is in our atmosphere plane, and it has that. So like a pencil in a glass of water, it'll like bend that pencil and magnify it as well. It's the same as water in vapor form. It will bend and magnify. And Rob Skiba actually has a good video, which is in my video there, but he makes the sunset on a flat table. Yeah, and there we go. There's talking about that abyss in the midst of the earth. And it's in I believe the 20s of Enoch. One of the chapters in the 20s, it speaks about how that there's an abyss under Mount Zion, or a crevice or crater. I believe that's exactly where, these fallen were trapped, and even Hasatan gets bound for that 1,000 years, right under the feet of Yahuah. And it goes right along with, he will trample on your head. It's because he's put right under his feet. Not all Yasharel is Yasharel. Yeah, exactly. The native borns who, turn from him, they're not going to be part of it. The foreigner, the stranger who turn from him, they're not going to be part of it. But if we turn to him, we follow his ways, we will be grafted in. That's how it's been since the beginning. Just like we see that great multitude that went out with Israel in the wilderness from Egypt. There was a great multitude of other nations with them that became grafted into Israel out of Egypt. And we even see there were, Mitzrites or Egyptians that were even observing the Passover because of the plagues that came around. And so, this just goes to show, it's not about, our race, our bloodlines, where we come from, things like that. It's about who do we have a heart for. Something really interesting was brought up earlier today as well, because, Ephraim, he's the little brother. He's the one who didn't get that inheritance, and he kind of got led astray. That's why he was scattered. And Rob Skiba talks about the Ephraim awakening. Well, is it Ephraim awakening in this season of deception? Because we have to go through that refinement because of these generational curses of our ancestors. Just some interesting things to think about, Yeah, boom, there you go, Ezekiel 34. Exactly, Greg. You need to ask, seek, and knock at the door, or he won't hear you. And that's why he tells us, we have to ask him. Like, he already knows what we need. He just wants us to go to him to show that we need it. We actually care about it. We have a heart for him. Yeah, they make claims of that southern books and things like that, but yeah, we see the central point is what they call Polaris, and that's the North Star. Everything rotates around that. And as you get further to the south, like where Sister Germain is in Australia, it'll have that funhouse mirror effect is what I call it. And actually my video there explains a lot of that. Yeah, Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, I will answer you and show you a great and mighty thing, which you know not. And that goes with that, when Messiah was telling the Pharisees, you don't even understand the things of this earth, so how can I speak to you the things of the Shamayim? They don't hear him knocking from the other side either, yeah. And it also goes with the wedding guests, those who are invited to the wedding supper. There are those who wanted to get in, but they're standing outside the gates. Shabbat Shalom, Sister Sumi. Glad you can make it. Thank you for reading as well. Revelation 3:20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. And we have to knock. If you don't knock, he's not going to answer. We have to do our part as well. Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Sumi and Brandon. Thank you both for reading. Much love to you two. And Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, there's just so many deep connections with scriptures. And even in these, what they call apocryphal books, like Jubilees, Enoch, Esdras, Baruch, Tobit, all kinds of these books that were removed by, Mr. Rabbi Akiba. All these different books that were removed by these different councils of men. The Council of Jamnia, the Council of Nicaea, Council of Laodicea, this council, that council, another one. They're really councils of Hasatan is what they are. And they plotted and schemed how to remove certain books so that they can hide the truth of Yahuah. Yeah, so we went over that actually, Sean, how it is perfectly okay to cook on a Shabbat. And that's as per Jubilees chapter 50. And that verse in Exodus 16 is specifically about the manna bread. Because the verses before and after that are speaking about the manna bread. If you left it overnight, Jubilees 50. So if you left the manna any longer, it would stink and grow worms. And then we see so you have to read from verse, I think it's from the 20s to like 25. But that right there, it's all about the manna bread and how it stinks and grows worms if you didn't cook it or bake it. And then that's where that verse 23 comes into play. So cook what you cook, things like that, in context of the manna bread. And then even the verse after that, it says, oh, and they cooked it and it didn't stink and grow worms. So it's Jubilees chapter 50. Actually, the whole chapter, chapter 50, is about the Shabbat day, what we can and cannot do about it, or do on it, sorry. Yeah, because in Jubilees chapter 50, it says, you shall do no work on the Shabbat except for what you will eat and drink. And you have to think about that too, because, Yahuah doesn't want leftovers. It's a set apart meal. He wants the first fruits, the freshest things. So he doesn't want us having leftovers with him. Same thing with the fires. We don't spark up the fire on the Shabbat. We keep it going from the night before. That's why all the wood and everything had to be gathered the day before, so you can feed the wood in the fire so it wouldn't go out. And, when we go camping and things like that, so the fire will go out at night. Like there'll be no fire at all. As soon as you throw a log on there, that log will light right up. Why? Because there's a bed of coals that are underneath it. And sparking a fire back then required rubbing two sticks together. They didn't have lighters and things like that, so it was a task to do so. But they would just keep the fires going, which is what we still should be doing today. But of course, we have like electric stoves and things like that as well, so. Yeah, it does, brother. So we went over this in a lot of detail, and you shared the verse right there. Do no work whatsoever on the Sabbath except what you prepared on the sixth day. So we do our gathering, our hunting, our skinning, cleaning the meat, all that. We do that on the preparation day. That way, on the Shabbat, except for what you are to do as to eat, to drink, and rest. So he's saying cooking is not work. Doing the preparation for it is. But yeah, it's not really complicated at all. But like I said, it's okay to agree to disagree about that. I personally see it as it's okay. And if Yahuah wants the first fruits of everything, he doesn't want secondhand leftovers, especially if it's a set apart meal to him. Yeah. With the Passover, so midnight in scriptures is because they translate it with a modern terminology, thinking it really just means the shozek of the night. Yeah. And that bread of the heavens is Yahusha. He is that bread of the heavens. I agree. Yeah, the Passover itself actually goes very deep. And it's not that the Passover lamb made it an atonement or was an offering or anything. It was actually a meal with Yahuah is what it is. The word for fast is anah, which is to humble. Yep. We already know they mistranslated Rosh Chodesh as new moon, so be careful. Yeah. That's the thing too, is a lot of these like Strong's concordances and things like that, they will, appeal to the usurpers and what they say. So this is where they mistranslate Ha Hodesh, Rosh Kodesh, even just Chodesh itself. They mistranslate it into new moon. Yeah, midnight is not the start of the day. Correct. Yeah, that's why it's very important to study everything, have your own personal relationship with Yahuah by dwelling in His Word. Just test everything to His Word. Yep. Follow no man, test everything to His Word. And I believe that's why Paul goes into, not judging anybody for, a Sabbath or a festival day. Lots of good stuff. And yeah, the whole the day starting at midnight is a very modern thing. So when you see midnight in scriptures, it probably doesn't mean midnight at all. It's just the darkness of the night. So it could be any time throughout the night. Passover? Actually, there's specific instructions on the time of the Passover, and Jubilees 49, I believe, explains in detail. It's when there's 3 parts light and 3 parts darkness. And yeah, you until, the sun starts rising to eat it, because we're not supposed to leave any of it up until morning. Yeah, they pretend we're changing the day at that time. Yeah, they do. Just like, that's the reason the days do not start in the evening, because then, all of scripture says, we're unclean until evening. So if the thing started in the evening, so you're going to be unclean until the day starts? No, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, make make believe. That's what they do. They play pretend, and it's all just a deception. It's all that spider web of deception with Satan at the center, and it's to hide Yahuwah's truth. Just like we have the net of Yahuwah that is His truth, and it all connects together. Yeah, I love all the input and everything everybody has to say. Exactly, the Day of Atonement doesn't work right if you start your day in the evening, because it says to start the Day of Atonement the night of the ninth. So how's that going to work if you're starting it in the evening? Because then you're going to start that evening of the ninth, but then you're going to be observing Day of Atonement on the ninth day, and it's supposed to be on the 10th day. So the math doesn't math. Well, they kept a lot of those books because, that you have to have some of that truth be sprinkled in with the lies. But as you could see over the years, they've removed those books, and they have this quote unquote 66 book canon. Well, what's half of 66? It's 33. And we know whose favorite number 33 is. And they keep all these books and things like that hidden because they don't want us to know the truth. But then when we go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, we see all these books are in their library there. All these books. And then when we read through all these books, we see all the connections and parallels, not only with the books themselves, but with scriptures as well. Really, anything found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, I take it as legit scriptures. Because they were the sons of Zadok. They were appointed by Yahuah himself to keep all the laws, statutes, commands, the Shabbats, the festivals, the calendar. Yeah, and Exodus 12, 7, 9 as well for Passover, yeah. Yeah, so right as the sun is setting there, Angel, yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the thing too. So you'll point these things out and like, look, it's in the 1611 King Jimmy over here. You're like, oh, well, it was removed. It was removed for a reason. It's like, yeah, do you actually know that reason, what it was? The reason was Rabbi Akiva, and the reason was because, one, it shows the true calendar. Two, they talk about Messiah. And three, it speaks about the season of deception as well. So they remove all these books. Is why a lot of these timelines you see, they don't have that little season in there anywhere. It's 100% found in scriptures, but they don't include it on that timeline. Just a lot of interesting things that they try to hide. Yeah, if you dig through scriptures and you compare these books for yourself, you'll see all the connections. Like here today with our Torah study, our Torah portion, it lined up exactly with what Genesis was reading. Even last week on our Torah portion, everything was lining up exactly with Genesis. These people go around saying, oh, there's all these contradictions. Well, there's not been one single contradiction that we've read. And we're reading it right along with Genesis. So we would be able to see if there was a contradiction, and there's not. It lines up. So all the buildings, I believe these were the nations who followed Yahuah, because we see the shape of them, the shape of the windows, the doors, like all the things, they were made in these cymatic frequencies, these patterns, and they're healing patterns. Unlike today, we have these frequencies like 5G, Wi-Fi, radio, TV, internet, all these man-made frequencies, which are actually harmful for us. And yeah, giants need big doors. Well, I see this 200-year thing, or history, I should say. So all these buildings that they talk about, these old school buildings, they all have this 200-year history. They were all built within this 200-year timeline. All these cities and things like that, they have this 200-year history. Our lineage, most of us can only trace back no more than 200 years. There's a lot of evidence that all of our forests here on Earth are only about 200 years old. So there's a lot to think about going into that. Yeah, but so Satan, he can only imitate, he cannot create. So we see technology existed, but Satan takes it and twists it. And same thing with like layouts of cities and buildings. they're designed like a circuit board of a computer, basically. You know, all the little gold connecting paths, those are like the roads, and then, you know, the circuits and things like that are the different buildings, and it's all laid out the same. Yeah, it is Satan's way of trying to be omnipresent. This is why he wants us to, you know, think these, you know, Elon brain chips, they're so cool and, you know, the thing to have, and they're going to help the blind to see and the deaf to hear. It's those lying wonders and miracles performed through this technology. Yeah, using sound waves, exactly, the frequency. All frequency links back to the word of Yahuah is really what it is. We did a really in-depth video about it a few weeks ago, well, a few months ago now, but about the cymatics and sonoluminescence, which I think we might go over again here soon. Even all the in-home detectors, the ring doorbells, the cameras. Yeah, exactly. That's how he's omnipresent. The AI, the all of this, it all connects. Yeah. Yahuwah made it. It all originates from Yahuwah. Just the enemy takes it, twists it, and reverses it, makes it all upside down. And that's also the way he gets us to not look deeper into things. Like there's so many people that don't want to look at the sun, moon, and the stars because they think it has to do with, you know, zodiacs and horoscopes, because that's what we've been taught to believe. Why has that happened? So it prevents people from even looking into them because they think it's all just all esoteric. And no, it was Yahuwah who created these things. Inverts and perverts, yeah. Yep. And these sound waves and frequencies can also manipulate our bodies and things like that, cause sicknesses, illnesses. And when you pair that with, you know, what they spray in our skies, it's just it's witchcraft is what it is. 100% witchcraft. Because it's that blending of, you know, not only chemicals, but frequencies as well. Yeah, I would agree with you, Sister Sumi. There's a lot of verses to back it up, but like I say, you know, take everything to Yahuwah himself. Yeah, rebellion is witchcraft, and it's not what Yahuwah intended for. Yeah. You know, by pharmakia, the whole earth is deceived. Pharmakia is witchcraft, spellcraft, sorcery. Pharmakia is where we get our modern word pharmacy from in the English language. What do? They mix all these things together. They put them in these, you know, pills for us to take. And it's all synthesized nonsense. These man-made things. Witchcraft. And not many people realize how deep it really goes. And, you know, there are quite a few who believe, you know, the frequencies and things like that, oh, that's all new age, you know, don't even bother with it. Well, that's not true. Again, Satan can only imitate, he cannot create. Yeah, Most of those meds are synthetic snake venom. Most of them are, no, regardless. And they're all petroleum. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them are petroleum based as well. And I think we spoke about this before with that oil and stuff. It's sin of the earth because it's black and it comes from the earth. I think it was Jermaine that brought that up before. I agree, Sumi. Well, we have so many tabs anyway. Jubilees 50 is all I need. Understand, cooking is perfectly okay on the Shabbat. Yahuah doesn't want us to have a cold meal. He doesn't want these seconds and things like that. He didn't want his people being cold in the winter. GLP-1, Gila monster venom. Wow, interesting. Those are actually native here to Arizona, Gila monsters. Me and Callan saw one, my son. Saw one before. Yep, plastic is made from, it's a byproduct of crude oil. It's honestly wild how many things are made from crude oil, like the byproduct of, plastics, polyethylene, rubber products, so many things, so many things. Oh, nice. You used to live here in AZ. What part did you used to live in? I grew up in Mesa, but I live here in Phoenix. Oh, Deer Valley. Nice. Not too shabby. But yeah, all the byproducts made from this crude oil. Crude oil, is it that sin of the earth? Because it comes out like this black goo and things like that. That's what also connects to, the black goo that they use in Hollyweird and all the music industry and things like that. The black goo that's connected with the graphene oxide, things like that. It goes deep. Yeah. The Kohanim, they cooked, they offered sacrifices on the Shabbat. Actually, even Messiah brings that up. He says the priests did their daily work on the Shabbat. Were they punished for working on the Shabbat? No, because they had to do these things. Yeah, black goo is graphene oxide. Yeah, absolutely. It really is. Yeah, the obsession is it represents literally the evil and the sin. Uh, do you mean like a PDF to the calendar, Sister King? Yeah, heavy metals, yeah. In the mRNA, correct. Yeah, Jubilees, chapter 50, Sumi. And yeah, we also have to remember back then, they didn't have, refrigerators and things like that. There was nothing to keep things very fresh. So, you had about a day at the most once field dress animals, for example. He wants it all fresh and to eat like a cold meal on the Shabbat. But again, take it to the Father. And that's the thing too, Natalie. So when the fire goes out or the wood burns out, you still have that bed of coals. All you got to do is throw a log on there, and that log will light right back. I've done it so many times camping. Fire goes out overnight, you just throw a log on it, and boom, it right back up. No work to even try to start it. It does it on its own. Yeah, they're not supposed to be burdensome, exactly. Yeah, the animal stuck in the ditch, yeah. So did they have microwaves back in the day? How were they to warm up their food? Cooking it again? All these things we have to stop thinking with modern ideology on everything because they didn't have microwaves, they didn't have stoves, they didn't have electric ovens, things like that back then. They didn't have refrigerators, they didn't have ice boxes, they didn't have electricity. No running water, none of these things. These are all modern amenities, and we try to imply them when we're reading through scriptures because of our modern day thinking. That's just not the case. He has an ancient path. We return to that ancient path, not a modern one. Do not do your own pleasure. That means, don't be doing what our own pleasures are on the Shabbat. And that even goes with, being with your partner, as Jubilees 50 also explains. Why? Because of Leviticus. You read Leviticus, and an emission of semen makes you unclean until that evening. So do you want to be unclean and put outside the camp on the Shabbat? No, absolutely not. Yeah, exactly, Sumi. So what's preparing to cook and to drink? Well, field dressing an animal, for example. You prepare it. It says prepare it, not cook it. You prepare it, you get it ready to cook on the next day.
I think the huge problem is people don't hunt for their food. They don't raise their own animals. They don't grow their own food. They're not shepherds anymore. They're not agricultural minded. And so they don't realize in order to grow grain, you have to save seeds, then you have to plant the seeds the next year, then you have to cultivate all year, then you have to thresh the grain, you have to winnow it, and then you have to bring it into your home, then you have to grind it. They didn't even have electricity, so they didn't have these mills that you just press a button. Like, they actually had to grind it with a stone and then prepare your bread. So that's why they left Mitzrayim or Egypt with their sourdough bowls on their head. They didn't even have time to prepare it. It was unleavened still. So people, when Yahusha is picking the grain in the field, he's showing these Pharisees like it's okay to pluck a piece of grain, but you're not harvesting the grain and bringing it in. You have to be prepared. It's okay to eat food in the field, like pick a tomato out of your garden, but you're not harvesting your whole garden and you're not canning tomato sauce to put away for the year. So I think people just forget the practicality of these things because they don't actually grow their food. They just go to the store, buy a can off the shelf, and that's their food.
Exactly. No, good point. Very good point. And that goes to with what you said there as well, Sean. Do we only eat meat on the Sabbath? No. This is why we are to gather all the things we need to then be prepared to cook it on the Shabbat day. Well, if you want to take it that way, go right ahead. Like I said, it's okay to agree to disagree. I don't see cooking as, actually, that would be more burdensome. That would be making the Shabbat a burden. Oh, we can't cook, so what do we do? Especially back then. They didn't have crock pots and things back then. Sure, we have them today because it's a modern amenity, a modern convenience. And like Sister Natalie just said, most people don't hunt. They don't grow an entire crop of things. So we've lost that connection to the natural ways, how Yahuah wants everything. Riches in the scriptures is having flocks, having lands to grow stuff on, and having family as well. It's not about how much gold or silver you had. No. Yeah, grinding grain would be prep work. Yeah, you were to do that on the preparation day. And yeah, exactly, Brandon. In restaurants, you have prep workers, and then you have the cooks. Because the preppers, they prep it to be cooked.
Another easy example, like I'm sure Jermaine and others who have animals here can attest to it, like for preparing, I know we talked about like the day before how they would close the gates. So on prep day, we make sure that all our stalls are mucked out. We make sure that we have the animals loaded up on food. We make sure that their water bowls are tapped off. And we just make sure that everything that they may need is done in advance so that the day of course, we feed them, but we're not going to go do extra care for them so that we can rest and they can rest. It's all about life. It's not about burden.
Correct. And when we see the work not to be done on like Shabbat days, it has to do with our secular work, our secular jobs. Monetary gains. Are we making money? Are we buying? Are we selling? That's what it's about. Yeah, precisely, Angel. That's what I just said. Yeah. Work spoken of is you're doing your secular work, like the job that you make money off of. We're not supposed to be doing that. And yeah, the milking, like slicing a piece of cheese off of it to have a slice of cheese, is that really work? No, it's not. Is it very burdensome to slice a piece of cheese? No, I can do it in like a second. That's not work. Gathering and getting the cheese, yeah, sure, that'll be the work. But once you have it there, you can slice a slice of cheese off, and it's all good. It's not a burden to do so. Well, I would disagree there, Sean.
Yeah, I had a lot of grandbabies and children, and we did that for 3 years. We did not cook, would not light the stove at all. And let me tell you, it's not easy. It's very hard. I mean, you're just going to have cold food? Because, where does it end? Like a crock pot? Is that considered, cooking? Because it's cooking in the crock pot. I'm just saying, like, we did that for 3 years, and it's just everything I learned pointed me to, like, prep and cooking. It's completely separate days.
Yeah, I agree. And Kayleen, in our library group, here, I'll go tag you. It's in Natalie's, here it is, right here. Let me tag you here. There, I tagged you in it, sister. Yeah, if you want the day before, go right ahead. I don't believe it's a topic to cause division or arguments or hate over. If you want to cook the day before, go right ahead.
I don't think it's a topic to cause division either. The only reason that I'm adamant about it is because somebody that's got a lot of children, that's a lot of a burden to put on somebody for the Sabbath. I mean, it's you think it's easier because you cooked and you prepped the day before, but it's really not. Whenever Shabbat comes and all your kids are hungry and you got to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner done. I mean, it's not. It's very burdensome on Shabbat. I've done it for 3 years straight, every single day.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And we see they had large families back then. So are you going to cook enough for 12 people for 2 days on one single day? You'll be cooking all day. I
And
just see
heating
it.
it all back up. I want to know how you're heating it. I want to know you're cooking 3 cold meals every day, every Shabbat. It's got to be cold because you can't heat it up. Because then you're making, number one, you're making fire if you want to go down that road to the particulars of what a fire is. It's it's aggravating, but I mean, I got through it, and it's something that I fought against, like you, Jeremy. I fought myself. I'm like, I don't want to sin. It's not that big of a deal. We'll just have and that's what we did. We had sandwiches like every Shabbat, or I would make a crock pot meal the day before, but then I would end up plugging it in because like who wants cold food?
And that's exactly what I'm saying about Yahuah too. It's a Kodesh meal, a Kodesh day, a set apart day for Yahuah. So we see he wants the first fruits of literally everything. So on his most important Kodesh day that happens most often every single year, we're going to give him, leftovers. Why would he want us to have leftovers on his part day is the thing, when he requires the freshest of the fresh in every single instance in scriptures that we read. Heating up food is not cooking. Like I said, brother, we can have, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Do we see instances of them reheating food anywhere in scriptures? Like, oh yeah, we cooked this, and then, the next day we didn't eat it all, so we cooked it again or reheated it. And again, I went over the whole fire thing. I'm not sure what is hard to understand about that. There's a bed of coals when you make a fire. If that fire goes out, that bed of coals is still there. I know this because it's happened hundreds of times to me personally. Camping, your fire goes out in the middle of the night sometime, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. You throw a log and some kindle on there, it'll fire right back up. No work involved. It does it on its own. That's the thing. They kept the fires going. How did the priests offer the offerings and sacrifices on the Shabbat? With the fire that they kept going. Well, that's why you are able to cook on the Shabbat as well. Like, it's not an issue to be pushed, brother.
I think it's one of those things like if you desire to not cook, that's fine, but just don't try to push it on others because it's not in scripture and we shouldn't add or take away from it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If you are convicted of something, that's your conviction. We shouldn't put convictions on others unless it's specifically written in scriptures that, hey, don't do this. It's going to be a conviction. I would disagree, brother. Right there in Jubilees, it says it's perfectly okay to cook what you've gathered on the 6th day, but Again, I digress. Brother, Jubilees chapter 50, read it as many times as you like. Take it however you would like it. It says, do no work except for what you have prepared to eat and to drink. That's a big thing for me, except what you have already prepared. What is preparing? Preparing isn't cooking. Preparing is not cooking. It's like going, so when we're preparing to eat dinner, we got to go to the store and get the ingredients. Is going to the getting the ingredients, cooking it up? No, it's preparing to cook it up. There's a big difference. And we see a difference in the word between preparing and cooking as well. They're not one and the same. Again, that's the modern English terminology, mixing up these words, getting us to say things we don't even know we're speaking about. But like I said, if you feel convicted to cook food the day before and not do it on Shabbat, go right ahead. I'm not hating against you because you want to do that. Yeah, it's okay to agree to disagree. And it's not a salvation issue. I agree. And that's a whole nother issue there, Brandon. Well, see, warming up food is work. Then so is cooking. But it's like I said, it's all dependent on, are you doing it for your job? And having children is work. So you can't give birth on the Shabbat if the baby's about to come out. The priests did their work on the Shabbats and festival days. There's all these things. No, I mean, honestly, it's not. It's really all in the same context. But anyways, I digress. Honestly, like I said, if you feel convicted to not cook on the Shabbat, that's fine. And nursing children is work. Healing is work. All these things, good works are acceptable to do on the Shabbat. Yahusha gave us that example. So all the things that are made claims to be some kind of work, we see they're acceptable to do on the Shabbat. Why aren't prep workers also cook? Yeah, good question. Yeah, I agree with that, Ashley. Yes, take it to Yahuah and Palau. Be in prayer. And yeah, see, there you go, Esme. If that's what you feel led to do, that's perfectly acceptable. But I love each and every one of you, 100%. We may not agree on absolutely everything, but that's fine. We don't have to agree on absolutely everything. That's what makes us special and set apart as well. The writings of Abraham. Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Yeah, the writings of Abraham, really good one. I like that book a lot. Ooh, and then hold on, I might just read that whole thing there. So yeah, I'll do that actually. Let me read this. So it's the writings of Abraham, chapter 6, and says, "These things were a source of amazement and concern unto Lamech, who thereupon went unto his father Methuselah, and finding him in the day of Hayakal, he said, My father, this day did my wife, thy daughter, bear a man-child. And at his birth the room was full of light, so that we could not look upon him. And when we could look upon him, behold, the child's hair was white, and fire seemed to come from his eyes. And then he stood upon his feet, and sang a hymn of praise unto Yahuah. And lo, he seemed to have the tongue of a messenger of an angel. Tell me now the meaning of these things, and how can I raise such a son?" And then chapter 7, so whereupon Methuselah traveled to the top of the highest mountain, whence he could speak unto his father Hanok. And he said unto him, My father, my daughter, who is the wife of my son Lamech, hath this day brought forth a man-child. And at his birth the room was full of light, so that they could not look upon him. When they could look upon him, behold, the child's hair was white, and fire seemed to come from his eyes. And he stood upon his feet and sang a hymn of praise to Yahuah. But that seems like what I just read. I think it is. And my bad. And he seemed to have the tongue of a messenger. And thus said my son Lamech, who was greatly perplexed as to the meaning of these things, and how he could raise such a son. In chapter 8, hearing this report, Hanok comforted his son Methuselah, saying, Fear not, my son, nor fret thyself about this matter. For did not a Kodesh messenger visit your son Lamech, and tell him that this should be the seed of the future generations? And was it not so? For this cause have these things happened. But on the 8th day, when the child is circumcised, he shall be covered, and shall appear as other men, except that his hair shall remain white as a token, that through him Yahuah will do a mighty work. This word did Methuselah return to his son Lamech, and he was comforted. In chapter 9, and the 8th day when the child was circumcised, he was covered, that he became as the other men, except that his hair remained white. And they called his name Noah, which by interpretation is comfort, because Lamech said, My heart is comforted to know that my seed shall be preserved through the great flood. Wow, that one's really awesome, actually. Goes perfect with our Torah portion, too. Yeah, they thought he was a Nephilim, yep. Yeah, iron sharpening iron. Yeah, that's what it's about. I agree, brother. Yeah, the writings of Abraham are really amazing. The apocalypse of Abraham as well. The apocalypse of Moses, which is actually speaking about the life of Adam and Eve as well. And a lot of these books, actually, all of these can be found in the Dead Sea Scrolls library as well. Yeah, so many books I want to read.
Can we record what? Us reading?
Yeah, I need the first and second book of Adam and Eve. I need the testaments of the patriarchs. I need the writings of Abraham. I just have like a little list for you.
Okay. I would love to read the books of Adam and Eve, though. It's so beautiful.
I know.
We'll just have to do audio recordings of all these books, huh? Yeah, she'll listen to it at 30 minutes at a time.
And hopefully I won't forget about it.
Right? Yeah, there's so many books in there. And, I haven't even read all of them. Oh, there you go, Jermaine. Yeah, we'd love to hear you do some recordings of readings there, Sister Jermaine. You have such a soothing voice. No worries. Moses was nervous as well. Heck, I'm even nervous. It's not easy to present things every single Shabbat.
I'm not nervous. I'm very theatric.
Well, there we go. Perfect. That works out. What are my top 4 must-reads? Let's see. Definitely Enoch, Jubilees, the Testament of the 12. Man, is there only 4? Because there's a lot more than that. All the Baruchs, all the Esdras. Those are like my favorite ones, honestly.
Well, and definitely the Maccabees, because it literally shows the usurping. Like, everybody should read that one, just because, like, it tells about the wicked priests and how everything, that's the transition period right there.
And yeah, Wisdom of Sirach, or Wisdom Ecclesiasticus. Sirach is a very good one. Although in chapter 43 is the only poem I have, and because it's actually a mistranslation. So that's the chapter in Sirach that they say, oh, look, the moon, it's for the festivals and the Shabbats. Well, that's actually a mistranslation. And that specific verse, actually the 2 verses there, says that the moon is the object of Esau and the nations of the end times. So just a slip of the pen there, and they can change the whole meaning of things. Yeah, if you go to Sepharia and you go to the book of Sirach, they call it Ben Sirach there. And it's chapter 43. And you copy and paste that where it's written in Hebrew and you translate it. And it does not at all say the moon is for the Shabbats or the festivals. Not at all. Yeah, Enoch, Jubilees, Sirach, 2 Esdras, 2 Baruch, Adam and Eve, Writings of Abraham, Testament of the 12, all very good ones. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there are actually more testaments found in there. Yeah, Maccabees to see the usurping. Yeah, they literally admit to usurping the priesthood and exactly how they did it.
Hey,
Yeah, no
Jeremy.
problem.
And it tells how Yahuah punished some of the ones, some of, like, the kings and stuff after they had done all of the evil they did.
Yep. And I think it's right there in 1 Maccabees. It talks about Jonathan the Hasmonean, or no, not Jonathan. What's his name? Metiyahu, whatever his name is. But it literally calls him the Hasmonean. That's the usurpers, the Hasmodim, who worship the demon Asmodeus, which links etymologically back to Hashem. That's who they call him today. They refuse to call him Yahuah, call him Hashem, because it links etymologically to Asmodeus, the demon, which is spoken of in the Talmud. It's actually in the book of Tobit as well, that very demon.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
Can I just read the Wisdom of Sirach 43 that you were talking about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not all of it, is it? It's just a part at the beginning. Just down there at 6, is it? Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's 6 and 7, if I remember right.
Yeah, okay. I'll just start at the beginning because it always brings in context, hey? The pride of the height, the firmament of purity, the image of the heavens in a vision of glory, the sun in its appearance, proclaiming in departing, a wondrous object, the work of the Most High. It dries up the territory with its midday, and who can stand before its heat? Though one guards a kiln in work of heat, the sun is 3 times hotter when it scorches mountains. When it blows in fiery vapours and shines forth rays, it dims the eyes. Great is Yahuah who made it, and it hastens along its journey at his words. And the moon is among all things for its proper time, for a demonstration of times and a sign of eternity. A sign for a feast is from the moon, a light that wanes at the completion. The month is according to its name, increasing marvellously in its coming change, an object of proverbs in the height, shining forth in the firmament of the heavens, the beauty of the heavens, the glory of the stars. A shining ornament is Yahuah in the heights. By the holy words they will stand according to judgment, and they will never be weakened in their watch. And look for the rainbow, and bless the one who made it. Very beautiful in its brightness. It encircled the heavens in a circle of glory. Anyway, keeps going on, but perhaps, Marissa's talking about the moon being put in its place where it needs to be, and they were reading all of those things for the calendar, weren't they? Although the sun, we know, is the sign and the determiner for when it all starts, but people can twist it and say, see, there's the moon, it does this, this, and this, and that's all we need to know. But it talked about the sun first. Then the moon does its stuff, and then, the stars do their thing, and yeah, I don't know. But people are reading that as if it is for a feast. In 7 there, a sign for a feast is from the moon. What would other versions say?
What's up?
Or what would you say to the translations?
Yeah, so I took some pictures actually. So, and on Safaria, if you go to Sirach, in those very verses, it doesn't say what you read at all. It actually says, and also the moon, the times of return, the government of the end, and the sign of the world. They are the time and times of the law, and Esau desires in his time.
Okay, it doesn't even have Esau here.
Yeah, what I did, I just directly took that Hebrew there, copied it, and translated it, and that's what it says.
Yeah, right. It's a shame they have that written that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you be able to somehow just copy what you've just said, what you've read, and put it somewhere?
Yeah, I actually put the pictures in the
Oh,
chat.
okay, cool. I just need to chew things very slowly. I can't just listen to someone and go, oh yeah, I get you. We've got to go over it.
Oh, interesting. That last word is Takupa there. Interesting. So it's not actually time, it's a circuit or cycle. Yeah, there you go, Natalie. Thank you. On Shabbat Shalom, Sister Ashley. I'm glad you can make it here. Yeah, very interesting. But we see it's not the sign of the festivals and things like that. Like, could it be a witness to them? Yeah, just like Marissa had showed with the lunar stations. But yeah, a lot of people do try to use that. That's actually how I found that out, was because, I was going back and forth with the lunar Sabbatarian, and they tried to use that verse. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, because every other book that we read, it talks about how the sun is the main thing. Even in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, speaks about how the sun determines the calendar and things like that. So going through that, I was looking it up and wondering, like, why does it say that? So I copied and pasted that verse and just translated it. And this was a while ago. And that's where I found out it doesn't even say what it's appearing to say. And I could be speaking about the moon cycles. I just find it interesting how it's speaks about Esau desiring the moon in his time. And Esau, they're connected to literally the synagogue of Hasatan, and they're the ones that, literally worship the moon. Really, really fascinating. Oh yeah, the Septuagint, yeah, it's been definitely changed and edited in various places. And we could see that where it talks about, what is it? What verse is it? It talks about the city of Zedek or Azadek, the city of Zadok. But in the King Jimmy, they put it as the city of destruction. Gotta love King Jimmy, huh? But yeah, there is a lot of translational errors in really all versions of scriptures that we see, especially with the word new moon. Like, new moon does not exist actually in any scriptures. Even in the book of Enoch, where it says, "Oh, and on this day it's called new moon," the word there is actually ha-hodesh. Interesting enough, or the head of its months. But yeah, the ha-yarach just does not exist in scriptures, which would be the Hebrew word for new moon, because ha meaning new